Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We got a great night of remote viewing with Dr. Paul H. Smith once again. We had him on a couple of weeks ago. We needed him back, so we're bringing him back because that's what we're doing. We're going to have fun. Later on, little Timmy James will be in with the UFO report. Tim, how you doing? Good. Good to see you. And the best part about tonight, we have each and every one of you, including race fan in the gold medal position. Richard Minnick with a silver. SJ with a bronze medal tonight. JSCO, how you doing? Robert Lamoth, Kitty Caddywhack, Rugged Source. Good to have you all here. Attorney at Large, Michael Morris, Eternity Eternal, Carol Amerio, and Karen in the Woo Train. Nice to see you all. Frankie B. JBD is here. JBD will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. JMJ12, Paul Demon, good to have you here. Big Dog, nice to see you. And thank you for kicking off the super chat tonight. Appreciate your love and support. And hopefully you can get to Vegas because we'd like to see you there, Big Dog. We miss you, Johnny. All right, moving on. Mel WD40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show because to remote view, you need a lot of lube in order to make it go smoothly. So make sure that you're all lubed up for tonight because it's going to be a good one. Road Flare, B.A. Baracus, Human Carl. Nice to have you all here. Well, his name is B.A. in the chat room. How can I not Baracus it? You know, I'm pretty the fool. You know, right? I mean, that's just the way it goes. Just another guy named Harry, Tim Mothman and his goatee. Good to see you both. Number 32 in your program, starting in goal tonight from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. Captain K-Rod, nice to see you. Little Timmy James in the chat room. How you doing, bud? Good to see you. Tuxin Mufon, what's happening? All right, nice to see you again. And Beverly Beatty, UFO Canada, because I don't use UAP. UAP are man-made objects, people. You might not agree with that, but it's true. Jeremy Jones, Operation Shutdown, and Belletia, my man. Good to see you all. Thomas Rock, thank you for coming on in. Cosmic Joe, good to see you, my friend, as we continue on with our roll call tonight. Flubber Lane, nice to have you back. D. Cypher is here. D. Cypher will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Noble Patrick, good to have you back. Hi there, MJ. Al Garay over on Twitch, warming up for remote viewing by doing 4,000 jumping jacks in under 3 minutes. You know how fast he was going? Man, I'd be tired. Yennefer with a silent J, or soft J, I should say. Christine Lynn, good to see you. And who else is here? Little Cam on YouTube. You know what he did to warm up tonight? Yeah. He literally, you're not going to believe this, 1,200 pounds on the leg press, 68 times. Yeah, in half an hour. Can't believe it. His legs are jacked. Pat Leo Films, good to see you. And Joey Glow, thanks for coming on in. Scrolling on down, Major Lee, good morning to you. And who is next on our list? Pam Harris, nice to have you here. Hi there, Tracy Winters, Ace May. And, Look at that, B.A. Baracus. I pity the fools. That's right. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Remote viewing the moon, Dr. Paul H. Smith is back. He was here a couple of weeks ago, and we brought him back because we just couldn't finish the conversation in time. We are in roll call on our YouTube side. The show will start in just about a minute. Hi there, Nina Williams. Good to see you. Dave Tiger Williams. He'll drop the gloves anytime. Ozzy, oi, oi to you. Susan, how are you? And who else do we have here? Scrolling on down. Scotty Rosen. Good to see you, my friend. What in Tarnation has returned? Tina Smith, good to see you. Fapparoonie, thanks for coming on in. Big J, nice to have you back. All right. Kurt M., good to see you. And reminder, the Super Chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show, and you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Believe it or not, I got ripped earlier on YouTube about the swag and entertainment of this show. So throw those horns up. Let's rock. Mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora for you. Rock out with Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our site as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon at the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a power show of remote viewing tonight, Dr. Paul H. Smith. We had him on a couple of weeks ago. We did not finish that conversation, so we're getting right back into it tonight. And thank you for Paul for coming on so quickly here. Then in hour number 3, we got the Swamp Dweller to kick things off. Then little Timmy James, he'll be here for the UFO report. Now, a couple of weeks ago, like I just said, Dr. Paul H. Smith has been here talking about remote viewing. And literally, he must like us or something, because he actually agreed to come back on so quickly to finish up the conversation. We were so in-depth with what remote viewing is, how he got started, how it works, everything. We didn't get to half the topics that we wanted to do. So literally during the show, I put him on the spot. And, you know, when you put a guest on the spot like that, it's hard for them to say no. So he said, hey, we got to bring you back. We got to bring you back quickly here because we got to finish this. And obligingly, he said yes. Yeah, he's been one of the world's top remote viewers for a long time. He's worked with the Monroe Institute. He's worked for the U.S. government. This guy's done it all. And he's still doing it because, well, hey, when you find something fun, you just go for it. Dr. Paul H. Smith, thank you for coming back so quickly on Spaced Out Radio. You like us. You really like us.
Well, yeah, you know, you're an acquired taste, but I apparently acquired it. So, yeah. Well, and I have to comment on my shirt because people notice that I wore this in honor of you, Dave. Just, you know, because it seemed to fit. And you can't see it's a Bigfoot with a Sasquatch, whatever you want to call him, with a guitar. And so I have guitars, and somebody gave this to me. Let me tell you this real quick. So I put on a quite a blue ribbon event here in Utah, up in the mountains above Cedar City, up on Cedar Mountain, and in a lodge up there. And I called it the Cedar Mountain Summit, and got a small group of very committed remote viewing folks. They came to it, and one of those guys, actually is a couple, gave me this shirt in honor of the event. And so I wear it every now and again, only on special occasions.
Well, I'm glad that this is one of those occasions where you feel the need to wear a Bigfoot shirt, because you should always be able to wear a Bigfoot shirt no matter where you go.
Well, I
You know,
couldn't lie to you and say it was the only shirt I had that was clean, but it's not true.
well, you know what? After this, we're gonna have to hook up, because I'm gonna have to hook you up with some Spaced Out Radio T-shirts.
That would be interesting.
Yes,
Yeah.
free advertising, free
Okay.
advertising for
Sure.
me.
Yeah, that would be fun. So
Well,
I got a question for you. Well, no, first of all, what do you want to do first?
well, you got a question for me, so let's.
Yeah. And something you said as you were doing the intro, you said you don't use the term UAP on account of, now let me say, I do use it. I use it interchangeably with UFO, but why don't you use it? I'm curious.
A couple of things. I've had too many insiders tell me that UAP are man-made objects, and there is a definition between UFO and UAP. It is part of a cover-up. I think that it's a real drawing line between the UFO researchers and the 2017 crowd, who has really jumped on board with this, with that everything the government says on this subject is the truth. I think that knowing the people that I have talked to and listening to them on both sides of the border, that the terminology has been, I know it's been there since the 60s, so I don't need a history lesson on it, because I know there's always people who want to give me the history lesson. Not you, but I'm saying audience members.
But wait a minute, which term has been there since the 60s?
UAP.
Oh, I might argue with that. If somebody told you that, I'm not sure I would agree with it. But go ahead. Go ahead.
But I just think that when government gets its hands on things don't always change for the better.
Well, I won't argue with that.
and so I have, as much as I have appreciated the people who have come out and the people who have joined this field and the fight towards disclosure or confirmation or whatever, I'm just an old school guy, man, who understands that you don't need to come up with all of these different terms in order to describe what we're all fighting for. And the UAP crowd seems at times, not all of them, but they seem to act a little bit more superior than those who are ufologists. So that's just an opinion. I know it's a popular one amongst ufology, but I just like UFO. I think
I understand. I mean, you have a term that works for you. I think a lot of people misunderstand what UAP, what it is meant to convey. The UFO term is in philosophy, which I have 2 degrees in Middle Eastern studies and 1 in philosophy. I have no idea how those 2 correlate, but in philosophy we talk about a term being theory laden, right? Which means that it's created because there's certain assumptions that are made when the term is developed. And so UFO, unidentified flying object. Of course, the first assumption is it's unidentified. That's pretty obvious. It is, or we wouldn't be calling it a UFO, right? Flying, we assume it's flying, and we assume it's an object. Of course, the problem with that is that it might not be an object. It might be some other kind of phenomenon. I mean, you could plasma. There's a lot of talk about plasma UFOs, right? And those aren't strictly objects in a way. And we don't know they're flying. They are propagating, obviously. They're moving from one point to another. But are they flying in the classic sense? And so that's why they came up with this idea of unidentified. Nobody disagrees with that. That's fine, right? Nobody disagrees with that. But it was aerial, and then they realized, well, not all of these are in the air, right? Some of them go into the water, and some of them even go through solid objects. I can't remember if we talked about that last time. Did we talk about transmedium?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, and some of them are air, some are in the water, some of them are going through solid ground, even, right? And so they said, well, aerial doesn't really fit. Let's call them anomalous. Okay. I'm going to argue with this in a second here. Let's call them anomalous because we don't know how they fit into any explanation, scientific explanation that we have. And then the final thing, their phenomena, the P stands for phenomena or phenomenon, because some of them may not be objects, right? And so the change in term kind of makes sense. Now, I actually don't think is a great term myself. I think the anomalous thing is a problem, because if you talk about unidentified anomalous phenomena, well, that would describe extrasensory perception. Right? Because we don't know what it is, and it doesn't seem to follow the laws of physics as we understand them, and it's certainly not an object, it is a phenomenon. So I think they need to have a different term altogether that can really describe this thing and these things, whatever they are, and be not theory laden in which you make assumptions about it. You wait and see and let them reveal themselves.
I think I think the problem that we have, and I've heard it from other people too, okay, is that for many of the government sources that have come out, there's a lot of distrust within it. And
Yeah.
I think if you're falling in line, you're a UAP person. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying everybody, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that at all. But I think if you're falling in line with the current narrative, a threat narrative, everything like that, you're UAPing. And
Yeah.
it doesn't flow off the tongue very
No,
well.
I mean, well, of course, UFO. I mean, that's got, as we, what do you call it in the computer world? An installed base, right? Where you got so many machines running the same software that it's really hard to change, right? So UFO is kind of an installed base. I do have to say this, and I don't care which term you use. I'm just curious about this, right? And,
Oh yeah,
I hang out with Puthoff and with Jacques Vallée and Eric Davis and John Kander and all of these folks. And they all have kind of gone, not all the way to UAP. They use it interchangeably as well. Sometimes they'll use the term UAP. Sometimes they'll use the term UFO. I don't know. If I feel like UFO makes people understand what I'm talking about better, I'll say UFO. If they have a certain, cognitive position on the subject matter where UAP fits, but I'll say UAP. I do whatever it takes to be understandable.
And I think it's how you connect to the people too. Just like you said, I think that's very important on trying to get to the people to understand. But to me, the UAP narrative to me is just it stands for,
doesn't
it. You know what? I guess without grandstanding, to me, it sounds like everything that's wrong with ufology.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the government access, the threat narratives, going back to when Tom DeLonge started the To the Stars Academy and then said, we got it, goes on Joe Rogan and makes a mockery of the field. The way that experiencers and people who have been doing this for a long, long time, have kind of been castigated and pushed to the side for the new wave of UAP, the threat narrative that has come out regarding.
So it's peripheral stuff that you're objecting to. It sounds like the stuff that comes along with the baggage that comes along with it.
The baggage that comes along with it, and then the more I started talking to insiders, because in this business, as you know, you have people whom you can talk about, then you have people whom you can't talk about, but you could share information. And it really started a couple of years ago where I started hearing military people and government officials really start using UFO and UAP in the same sentence. So they would say, this is not like say for the drones that were flying over, this is not a UFO, it's not a UAP, this is a Chinese drone. So that tells me that
most of them are these days, aren't they?
Well, but that tells me with my journalistic spidey senses, that person has just defined that UFO and UAP are two totally different things.
Yeah.
You would have
that usage does give that implication, doesn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's, the more I read into it, then the more I talk to people about it. And trust me, I do have insiders who say, Dave, you are completely wrong on this. And then I have insiders who will say, Dave, you are completely right about this. So it comes down to a personal opinion.
Business as usual, right?
Right?
Trying to figure out the bottom line is really a massive challenge.
And at least the crowd that I run with, they are very much UFO people. They are UFO people. They've been here since before 2017, and what many of us claim it's new ufology. There's old ufology, and then there's new ufology.
So let me say this real quick. There's a bug across the bottom from Little Cam 51, I think. I just looked it up. UAP first appeared in the late 60s as a term. That's an interesting point. I'd love to look into that. I wonder if that's possible to put the source in the chat or something, so I could look into it. That's something I didn't know. I'm always happy to learn something new.
Hey, man, that's why we do these shows is to learn something new, because hey, I have my opinions, other people have their opinions, and how we bring them together is having good conversation. And that's how we go. You are a remote viewer who hangs out with some very, very influential individuals in the UFO/UAP world. When you look at everything that you have kind of delved into in your remote viewing career, what are you still allowed to talk about everything that you've seen, or do you still have NDAs out there that hold you back from talking about some of the subjects that you have looked at?
So I have one NDA, but it's not from the government. It's from a private organization, a private company, who was actually doing a government contract. So indirectly, maybe it is. And so I can't tell you who it was. But the one thing I feel comfortable telling you, I and my group of remote viewers were tasked to remote view the Nimitz incident that we, of course, are all talking about these days, the Tic Tac event, in 2011, before anybody really ever heard of it. A few people had, but the majority had never heard of it. And I didn't know about it at the time, because you're blind to the project you do. And so that's the only thing I can't talk about in any detail. Everything else, particularly the UFO related stuff, I tell folks it's absolutely true. I've been trying to hold UFO, the whole subject matter and related remote viewing, at arm's length for years. And I've been kind of dragged kicking and screaming into it because of the people I associate with. They're all, even Ingo Swann, back when he was still alive, was involved in all of this stuff to some degree, and lectured on it, and there's some very interesting things Ingo got involved with in the UFO world. If anybody's read his book Penetration, they'll know what I'm talking about. But we did a fair amount of UFO related projects. They were off the books. They weren't sanctioned by our leadership. They were done just within our ranks. And naturally, when you start doing something like remote viewing, UFO related stuff is the same folks that are interested in remote viewing are very often interested in UFOs. And so we did these off the books, not sanctioned projects on various UFO incidents. I have a section on Rendlesham and Forest in my archives that I did. Several of us worked that, and of course there's the various bases. I think we talked about last time about what Pat Price's UFO basis. Did we discuss that? Yeah. So I've got those, and you mentioned the lunar work I did with Ingo Swann. We'll get into that. So there is this background, and frankly, I'm not under any restriction to talk about that. The only thing that will limit my ability to discuss it is the shortcomings of my 72-year-old memory here. So,
as you kind of, watch what's happening in the UFO world, and with your own experiences of the people that you talk to, what are we missing? From your professional opinion, what are we missing in this story? Is it about aliens anymore? Is it about ET contact? Is it about disclosure? Or is it all about technology?
I think that folks make a mistake if they think it's all about any one thing. I think it's about a lot of those things. But how it's about them, of course, we're not sure. Now, of course, these days, the trend is away from an ET explanation and more into a transhuman explanation or a superhuman or a future human. That maybe the folks that are visiting us are just us from the future coming back, and they're not really extraterrestrial at all. Or maybe they're extra dimensional, that they come cross dimensions to visit us, whatever. There are all of these hypotheses out there, and that's what they are. They're hypotheses. They're not theories. A theory has some grounding, explanatory, and evidence and such. And we don't have the evidence to distinguish between these different hypotheses. The fact is, we barely started to acknowledge that there really anything there, at least in terms of a larger group of humans. I mean, for a long time, ufology was kind of a minority view kind of a thing. I mean, there's still lots of folks who believed in them, but it was certainly not accepted by the mainstream. But that's probably, going back to the UAP thing, that's probably one of the upsides of how it's moved since. And you call them the 2017. And of course, that's because that's when Leslie Kean started publishing her stuff. And it was getting people's attention, and it was being taken seriously. It was showing up in the New York Times, and that's bound to give something more credibility, unless it's political. So, and so that, I mean, that's one virtue, because now Congress is taking it seriously, the government's taking it seriously. We're starting to realize that the government isn't unified on this, that there are those in the government who want disclosure, and there are those in the government who are fighting against disclosure. And there's this kind of power struggle going on. And it's all of a piece. All of these different, you want to call them trajectories, or all the variables, or all the whatevers that you mentioned, all of those, right? They all play a role, I think. I don't think there's not a one of them that doesn't have at least some piece of the puzzle that we're trying to tease out.
Do you think then that this all comes down to a mass consciousness movement? The remote viewing, the near-death experiences, the alien contact, the paranormal activity, what people are experiencing? Is it all about consciousness then?
Well, and that's the niche in the UFO/UAP subject matter that I've kind of carved out, and I'm in the process of carving out, because of my remote viewing background and my philosophy PhD, which is in philosophy of mind and consciousness, is what role consciousness plays in the UFO/UAP phenomena. And I use that term in plural there on purpose, because there might be more than one thing out there, right? So I think consciousness is a piece that we really need to follow, and it becomes even more evident the more we find out about how these things interact. But when we talk that way, there's a couple of different ways to look at it. One is human consciousness, which I think where your question was actually based. And then there's alien/ET consciousness. So let's go with what I think your question is. Is this an expansion of human consciousness and a kind of a unification of human consciousness and focusing on these long-time controversial phenomena that we now feel like we are making progress understanding and trying to get to the bottom of? And is that sort of what you had in mind when you asked that question?
Yeah, that's exactly what I had in mind.
And so my answer to that is, it's of course complicated and nuanced, just like everything else I've said to you. I think first of all, I want to believe that's what's happening. And B, I suspect that is what's happening. But like any wild thing in the world.
Hold that thought. Let's continue it when we return. Remote viewing specialist Dr. Paul H. Smith is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're also going to head to the moon as well. Stay tuned, everybody. A nice start, my friend. A
Oh,
nice start.
I was worried that I might be being too abstract or abstruse. You're okay with it so far? Okay.
I'm just going to say, I absolutely love it that you challenged me on the UAP thing. So thank you for that.
I wasn't challenging you so much as suggesting other points of view. I guess maybe that's a kind of a challenge, isn't it? Yeah.
Made me think. You caught me off guard and you made me think, which is a
Well,
good thing. So
you're likely to do that to me too. So that's
yeah. Yeah. So it is very cool. I think Big on X. How you doing? Mm-hmm. So I think it's very cool. Very cool.
Well, you're a fun guy to interview with, I have to say.
Thank you.
I generally like most interviewers. They wouldn't have a career if they weren't likable in some way. But I feel a little bit freer to discuss things. So that's good.
It's funny because I was talking to someone recently who had a prior thought in their head about me and my show.
Mm-hmm.
And they were afraid to talk to me because of the reputation a certain group, I'm going to keep the group quiet, a certain group of UFO researchers had about me, claiming that I was gunning for them and that I was rude and dogged. And so we had about a 45-minute conversation one day, and this person was like, "You're not anything like I was told you are." And I'm like, "No." I said, I try and get along with everybody, So it's kind of interesting how in this UFO world, the perceptions of people and their take on things is skewed by bias.
Well, and it's not unique there. I mean, that's standard human condition when you get right down to it.
True.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And particularly when you get into what's by the mainstream considered fringe fields like this, right? There's a whole lot of ego testing and one-upsmanship and conspiracy thinking and all of that kind of stuff, and it makes it hard to progress really because of that. But it's inevitable. It is human nature, unfortunately.
Oh, very true. Very true. So I just look at it, I just do my own thing. There's just no more of this. And I just, you know what? I have fun with my audience. Our audience is growing all the time. I try and provide good information, and people take it for what it is. It's great. If they don't, they don't. It's just the way on you.
That's good.
Yeah.
When we have these discussions, we're in the back room of the studio, but are your listeners, the internet listeners, hearing what we discuss?
Yeah, they hear what we say at this time. Our radio audience doesn't.
Yeah.
But our podcast and YouTube audience does.
Okay. Well, I'll be very careful not to say anything embarrassing.
Yeah. That's what we have Tim James for if anything comes embarrassing.
Oh, okay. We blame it on them.
That's what we got him for.
Okay.
Yeah. So we got about a minute here.
So Sierra says, "Hi, Paul Smith." Hi, Sierra. I every once in a while catch something going by on the chat. So.
Yeah, I get about 40% of it.
Yeah. Well, it goes by really quick, and we got to be paying attention to what we're doing. So that makes it a little difficult. Although when I'm not the focus of the show, I actually enjoy kind of watching the chat go by and seeing what folks are saying.
Yeah, our chat room has some brilliant people in it. It really they really are brilliant, And they're good people. They're honest people who just want to know what's going on, whether it's curiosity or whether it's because they're experienced. They just want to know. Give me 2 seconds here. Thank you tonight to Big Dog and Cosmic Joe for the super chats tonight. Greatly appreciate it. Here comes the second half hour. We're going to remote view the moon here momentarily with Dr. Paul H. Smith. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello, and thank you for joining us. I want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives or on any major podcast network or on YouTube. Yeah. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Dr. Paul H. Smith, remote viewing. And right before the break, Paul, we were into an in-depth discussion. I'm not sure if you remember it or not, because sometimes during the break you kind of move on to different things. But if you remember, I'll turn it over to you as the fine journalist that I am and allow you to finish.
You just didn't want to frustrate your audience.
True. Very true.
We were talking about whether this was what was happening now in human society about UFO, UAP, whether that was a expansion of consciousness. And I think in a certain sense, like I said, I want it to be, but I think it actually probably is. We've come to be way more accepting of this, even people who didn't accept it before. The only ones who aren't just absolutely at least willing to listen are the dyed-in-the-wool skeptics who won't listen to anything, And so I think it is an expansion in consciousness. Now, I said there's two ways of thinking about this. The other one is alien consciousness. Now, I'd mentioned Ingo Swann before, and I'll be mentioning him again, particularly when we start talking about the remote viewing the moon. Ingo was convinced that aliens have actually been trying to suppress this expansion in consciousness. And they've done it by actually influencing the government, either consciously or unconsciously, and mainstream science and that, to be skeptical, not just skeptical in the true academic sense of skepticism, where you wait until you have evidence before you decide for something, but you don't reject it out of hand. That's true skepticism, where you hear a claim and you look at it, and if you see no reason, if you can't see good reason to reject it, then the jury's out until you get evidence to accept it. That's the way a skeptic is supposed to be. Unfortunately, there are skeptics who reject it just because it messes up their worldview, and they don't want to have that happen. And it doesn't even matter if you do have evidence; they'll reject it anyway. So the aliens are actually manipulating human consciousness, according to Ingo Swann, to kind of damp down our overall conscious capabilities. Because Ingo thought that aliens were afraid of our abilities, that they were more advanced technologically, but we had much more potential in the consciousness realm in terms of telepathy, in terms of remote viewing, in terms of this kind of stuff. And the aliens were afraid we would then get ahead of them in the world of consciousness, because it turns out that may be the true value, not technology, but managing consciousness. There's a belief out there that aliens are all benign, they're all great people, that they just want to help us and all that. And the logic is this. People say, well, aliens are obviously technologically far beyond us. And if they're technologically far beyond us, then they must also be morally and ethically far beyond us as well. And therefore, they're all good. Well, that's a logical fallacy. Technology doesn't bring with it automatic morality. In fact, if you look at the history of humans, Let's start off with, of course, in the old days, everybody just threw rocks and built fires in caves, right? But then over time, different cultures started developing higher technology. If you think about the Native Americans at the time of Columbus, and while they had amazing civilizations, they had a lot of amazing things they had accomplished. They didn't have guns. They didn't have gunpowder. They hadn't mastered horses and draft animals. They hadn't done any of that stuff. And so when the conquistadors show up, they were technologically superior, but morally they weren't any better and may have been worse than the people they encountered in the Americas. And we know what happened. We know how that story unfolded. If you then think ahead a few centuries, you get to World War II. Arguably the most technologically advanced people on the planet were the Nazis. And no one is going to claim that they were more morally or ethically advanced than the rest of us just because they were more technologically advanced. And you can continue up even to the modern era. I mean, the PRC, People's Republic of China, we know they're quite technologically advanced, far more than anybody was in the 20th century. And yet, what are they doing? They're oppressing minorities in their own country. That's not a moral or an ethical thing. And so technology doesn't make you more moral. What it does do is make you smarter. If you are able to develop technology to the level that aliens appear to have accomplished, they obviously are far more capable of manipulating the universe than the laws of physics, and maybe laws that are beyond physics. And they seem to be able to manipulate consciousness in a way that we can't. They can maybe make people believe that things have happened to them that haven't. They can make people see things that aren't there. And of course, people do see things that are there too. I'm not saying that all of this, that every UFO event is an imagination instilled by an alien, but they are able to get people to do what they want to do, and they may well be manipulating the consciousness of Western science, or in fact science worldwide, science and the mainstream and our culture in general, and the government. Okay, because they're afraid if we one day realize just how much control we could have over consciousness, we could blow them out of the water in that respect. And I can't tell you that's really the way it is, but Inga was convinced of it. And I certainly it sounds like a plausible possibility to me. It certainly seems irrational the way a lot of scientists, the way a lot of people in the government have tried to stamp out exploring ESP, exploring consciousness, practical applications of intuition and all that. So anyway, I'm sorry, I've been talking too much about consciousness now, but I think you get the idea.
Well, I think it's an important point that it has to be added in any of the conversation that we do. It really does have to be added. And I think, that's going to become a more focal point of where this entire phenomena and where we're going with it. Because if it's aliens, if it's a God or Christ consciousness or whatever it may be, I think we're learning very quickly on a very steep curve, or very steep hill, I should say, that it is going to be part of the conversation of this moving forward, whether or not aliens find us here or not.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's certainly there's no, I can't remember the quote anymore, but there's this principle that if you're not willing to explore ideas, you're not going to make any progress at all, right? And so, fortunately, I mean, some of these ideas might be totally crackpot and totally wrong, but other ideas obviously will lead to something, and you oftentimes at the start don't know which they are. And so, anytime we try and stamp out speculation and thinking ahead and thinking beyond, we're going to undermine our own progress. And so I welcome people coming up with ideas, even if I think they're a bit crazy. I'll at least listen to them and see if there might be some there that's constructive and helpful.
Dr. Paul H. Smith is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Now, let's shift over to the reason why we had you on here. You were going to tell us about remote viewing the moon.
Yeah.
We got some aliens there. Do we have some human life there?
Well, I have to tell you, Dave, I've changed my mind. I don't think I'm going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
God, give me a heart attack like that, please.
Well, I have to tell you, I did that once to a Hollywood director. I guess I'll tell you the story and then I'll talk about the moon. So there's this movie came out in 2004. I'm pretty sure it was around that time, called Suspect Zero. Maybe you've seen it. It's the only feature film that had as a major part of its focus remote viewing. The story is about a FBI agent who was actually a remote viewer and used his remote viewing abilities to go around and find these serial killers and take them out. And so he was essentially a serial killer of serial killers, right? And the remote viewing thing was a major theme of that. And the director's name was Elias Merhige. And Merhige, the movie kind of tanked, and it was not a bad movie. It was actually a pretty decent movie. Kind of tanked at the theaters, and a large part was because the critics, when they reviewed the movie, just didn't believe the remote viewing premise. They didn't believe it could be true. This may be aliens intervening with consciousness, Anyway, and so it got panned largely because of that. Well, when it came out as DVD, this is back when they're still doing DVDs, Merhige decided, what I need to do is put some credible information as bonus features on the DVD so people realize there really is something to remote viewing. And this wasn't something I just made up, some kind of magical thinking thing. And so he came out to interview me. I was in Austin at the time, and I arranged for Hal Puthoff to be a part of that as well. And Merhige was going to have me do a demonstration remote viewing session just on camera, and then he was going to do an interview with me. And I knew, and this is something that they learned at SRI International, where the program was really researched. They had learned that if you demonstrate remote viewing to somebody, they may be impressed, but they still won't necessarily believe it. The best way to convince someone that there's something real about remote viewing is to have them do it themselves. Then they know what they knew, they know what they didn't know, and when they finally get their feedback, they realize how much good information they got that they could only have gotten by being psychic. And then they are believers. It's amazing how well that worked. So I knew that happened, and so I had no intention of doing a demonstration session for Merhige or his cameras. But he didn't know that. I had arranged for Puthoff to be his monitor, and I had arranged to do what we call an outbounder, where it's just where you are randomly given a target. It's a physical target somewhere within about a half-hour drive of where you are, and you go to that without the remote viewer, the person doing the remote viewing, knowing where you went. And then their mission is to try and find you psychically, and then by finding you, find where you are and describe the setting you're in. Okay. Well, the random selection gave us Pennybacker Bridge, which is this quite striking bridge over Lake Austin in Austin, obviously. And so I and my outbounder team companion, a young woman who's a family friend, been house sitting for us, we go to this location, and Elias is back in the hotel with Puthoff, and neither one of them knew where we went. Oh, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. So what happens was Merhige comes, he says, okay, so would you rather do the remote viewing session first while you're fresh and then do the interview? And I said, oh, it doesn't matter. And he says, well, why doesn't it matter? And I said, because I'm not going to do the session. And his eyes got big, and he goes, what? And I knew right through his head was, I spent a lot of money to get this camera crew out here to Austin, Texas, to get a demo and an interview, and he's telling me he's not going to do the demo. Oh no, what am I going to do now? I said, I'm not going to do it. You're going to do it. And he goes, what? I can't do this stuff. He used a stronger word than stuff, right? I can't do this stuff. I said, sure, you can do it fine. Hal will talk you through it. You'll do great. And so he sat down. Hal talked him through it. Meanwhile, I and Jamie, who was assistant for this. And we go out, we open the envelope. It says Pennybacker Bridge. So we go to the bridge and we walk around it. The idea is to interact with it so that we draw attention of the remote viewer. We walk around it, we touch it, we look over the side, and it's high up off the water, and we get down and at the bottom and we look up at it. We do whatever we can. Then we go back and get marriage. He has no idea. He has, his paper that he'd written everything on and the sketches he made. And we're driving back down the road and we're having a conversation. And I told the camera guy, sit back here in this back seat where you can train your camera on marriage and keep it on him the whole time. Camera guy, okay. He didn't know why, but he did. He's got the camera running the whole time. We're driving down the road, and about a mile up the road, you can see the arches of the bridge up ahead. And Marriage is talking to me, and in mid-sentence, he looks up there and he says, "That's the target. Is that the target? That's the target." He gets all excited, jumping around, and it's all on camera. It's on the camera. And we get to the bridge, and he's just thrilled. He's pulling out his papers, and he's showing where he sketched the view that he had and all that stuff. And he did a really nice job on it. But that was the case where I shocked him the way I was just pretending to shock you. So sorry, I hope that wasn't too long a story.
No, it's not. How many times have you remote viewed the moon?
I've been involved in 2 projects, and I think I did probably 2 or 3 sessions each. So you could say 4 to 6 times.
Okay, I'm going somewhere with this. So out of those 4 to 6 times that you have remote viewed the moon, when you look at it, is it something that is changing? Are there changes that you see each time you go in there?
Well, okay, I'm not sure that really works, because obviously the moon is changing all the time. Now, the changes I think you have in mind are not the things that are just to be taken for granted. I mean, meteors are hitting it all the time. It's rotating, it's revolving. There's stuff that happens. I think probably the answer to the question is probably, well, it's probably yes, but maybe not exactly how you had it in mind. And so I probably ought to tell the story. That's probably the easiest way to get to that. Okay.
Tell the story. We got 6.5 minutes.
6.5 minutes. Well, we can always pick up after that, right?
Of course.
Okay. Now I'm going to leave you hanging. We'll have a cliffhanger. So anyway, so Ingo Swann, I had trained, and I and 3 of my colleagues, technically 4, but there was one who started before me. I and 3 of my colleagues had trained in remote viewing with Ingo Swann during all of 1984. 84, the contract went away, and we went on back to Fort Meade and did our stuff, our remote viewing there and stuff. In I'm going to say 94, 95, somewhere in there. After I was out of the Army, I know I was still in the Army, I guess. Ingo was no longer working for SRI. He calls me up and says, "Hey, Paul, I've got a project to do, and I'd like to invite you to be one of the viewers." And one of 3 viewers. He was one of them. And I said, okay, I mean, that's a real honor to be asked by Ingo Swann to do a remote viewing project with him. And there's no way I was going to say no. And so I said, okay. And he didn't tell me what it was. He told me nothing about it. He said, okay, so I'm going to send you some coordinates, latitude and longitude, and I want you to remote view what's there. Excuse me. Okay. And I said, all right. Okay. I mean, that's standard. That's how we used to work. I get the coordinates in the mail. Well, he might have told me the first set over the phone. I get them. I work solo on this. I didn't have a monitor. And Ingo did not communicate with me the whole time I was working it. And I proceeded to remote view. And when I was done, I scanned this or photocopied the session and sent him a hard copy of the session. And then he got back in touch with me and said, okay, let's work another one. Let me work another one. Working another one for me, and then maybe one more. It depends. And then we did that on 2 different projects. Okay, so that's the stage. And now let me tell you what I found. So I'm remote viewing, and I'm thinking it's on the Earth. I found out later that lunar coordinates look a little bit different than Earth coordinates, but I didn't know the difference back then. So I'm thinking I'm remote viewing the Earth. And I'm going along and I'm saying, oh, this is kind of weird because there are all these really spiky kind of mountains, or they're spiky and sharp edged and such, and the ground is kind of powdery, and I can't breathe. There's no air here. I eventually figured out I was on the moon just because of what I was experiencing, right? And so I'm going on, and I'm exploring around, and I discovered there was a kind of a passageway that went into, you can't say it goes into the Earth, that went into the moon's crust and went down. And I followed it down, and there seemed to be a big chamber down here, and it was part natural, but it was part artificial, and there were things going on down there, which I was not able to really tease out too much about. But I pull back out of that, and I'm kind of still casting my perceptions around about, and I get this impression that there's a kind of an awareness, a consciousness or something lurking in the shadows near the opening into this underground chamber. And in fact, I saw what I thought looked like kind of like eyes looking at me, but it didn't feel like eyes exactly, some kind of points of light.
Right.
I thought, this is quite weird. Are we running out of time?
No, we got
okay.
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay, this is going quicker than I thought. So, and the weird thing is, I felt like as I'm perceiving it, it's aware that I'm perceiving it. And okay, that's strange. And then I had this further impression that it was coming out of it. It was like it had to leave. It couldn't stay there. It stayed as long as it could. It had to leave. And it emerges out of it, and it's flying. Of course, we're in zero atmosphere, so technically it wasn't really flying, but it was going up into above me, and it was propelling itself through the vacuum. And it looked like a manta. It kind of had that shape of a manta ray in a way, but I could tell that this thing was a thing. It was an object. It was a manufactured object, but it was also part biological. Okay. And it had a consciousness. Now, you have to remember, this was like, I don't know, 93, 94, sometime around that time, long before Battlestar Galactica, the second version, came out. And in Battlestar Galactica, the second version, and in Stargate Atlantis, I think it was Stargate Atlantis, these two TV series, they had spaceships that were part biological and part manufactured. Okay. But I was getting this impression before either of those series ever approached that. In fact, Battlestar Galactica hadn't even been, I don't think it even been thought of yet at that point. And so I'm thinking, this is a very weird thing. I've never considered the possibility of having a biological unified to an artificial thing like this.
Right.
And then as it's flying by, I could tell it was really annoyed at me. It's like, what are you doing here? Why are you paying attention to me? And obviously we're not communicating, at least normally. It was some kind of telepathic connection. Why are you here? And it couldn't do anything about it. It felt like it would have, if it could have, it would have squashed me like a bug, but it couldn't do it. It didn't have the capability of doing that. And so it went on by, and I'm sitting here thinking, holy cow, I have never had an experience like this. And I haven't had one like that since. I have never been perceived at the target, or at least felt like I have been perceived at the target by any conscious entity at the target of any sort, human or otherwise, except for this one time.
That is incredible. Incredible. And I have so many questions to follow up with you, and we're going to continue that story on Spaced Out Radio when we return. What is it like remote viewing the moon? I'm curious. And if anybody's going to know, this guy's going to know. Dr. Paul H. Smith.
Whether I can explain it or not is a question.
Well, we're going to get to that when we return for hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio, remote viewing the moon. Next. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, we are clear. We got about 6 minutes here. I'm just going to quickly step away for a bathroom break.
Okay.
And I'm going to put you in the green room. I'll be right back, okay?
Okay.
All right. We'll be right back, everybody. Hi, Rose Demaray. Hi, Warden Dragon. It's actually a cool combo, the pink and green. Yeah. How we all doing? We having fun? Sure, Dad. By the way, Tim and I, we're going to debate this later. We were just chatting. What do you prefer? Brussels sprouts or spinach? Knocker, how you doing? Think about that for a second. Brussels sprouts or spinach? Because I think Brussels sprouts get a bad rap. They do. I like Brussels sprouts. Okay, but spinach is totally overrated. Totally overrated. And the way all these health food kick people are all about spinach this, spinach that. You know, this ain't a bloody Popeye cartoon. Ashley, how you doing? Welcome to SOR Chat. I know some of you will love both. And Aussie Ange, you're like in top shape. So, you know, literally, her and her hubby own a gym. Okay, so you know. Can't stand spinach. Oh, it's horrible stuff. Fap, you're the kind of guy who sits in his underwear in a puddle and then makes it muddy. Oh, I love the Fap. Thank you tonight to Cosmic Joe and Big Dog for our super chats. Greatly appreciate the love and support. Let's bring Paul back in. Paul, spinach or Brussels sprouts?
Both.
Oh, you're a remote viewer, so of course you're going to choose both.
Yeah, well, the question is, do you prefer spinach or Brussels sprouts, or you do not prefer spinach or Brussels sprouts? So now you have to decide whether I'm preferring or not preferring either one of them.
Good point. Here we go. Here we go in the second hour of Space Out Radio tonight. Remote viewing the moon with Dr. Paul H. Smith is the topic. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What do you got for us, Clam? Ultraism. Ultraism is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Here's Dr. Paul H. Smith. We are talking about remote viewing the moon. Now, Dr. Paul, got a serious question for you.
Mm-hmm.
See any alien bases?
Well, I think that my description of that underground chamber probably was an alien base. I don't know if you want to do this. I do have some slides that show the sketches I made, plus the sketches that Ingo did and another guy. What do you think?
Yeah, as long as we describe them for the radio audience, we're totally cool with that.
Okay. Well, I think we can manage that. So how do we do it? I see a thing that says present.
Yeah, go to present on StreamYard and then share screen.
Share screen, okay.
And you should be able to bring them up if you got the file open.
I do. Okay, now how am I going to do this? Let's see. Now, where is it hiding? That's the question. Oh, I know, it's down here. Here it is, right here. Can you see that?
I cannot just yet.
Okay, so I'm going to make it. Okay, well, we'll see. Can you see that?
No.
Did I do something wrong?
Maybe. Let's save them until the next half hour.
And we'll figure it out during the break.
We'll figure it out during the break.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, like when I think of the moon, I think there's...
I see what I did wrong, but that's okay. Go ahead.
All right. When I look at the moon, maybe it's my imagination, but I think of all the things that could be up there. Never mind the Apollo rockets or the rovers that China has put on the moon. I would really, really like to believe that we do have humans on the moon right now. I really want to believe that there are alien bases on the moon. I want to believe that there are spaceships landing there with telescopes looking at us, checking out what we are doing.
Yeah.
Is that just imagination, or could it be real?
Well, if you ask that question from a standard science perspective, you're going to get one answer, right? Which is, well, of course, barring any kind of secret or classified information about that, the answer would be no. There's nothing up there other than dirt and rocks and stuff. Based on, well, of course, there are some interesting and weird things that do happen on the moon, even from the science perspective. In Ingo's book Penetration, he actually goes in. His sources aren't that concrete, but there's still a good volume of data about transient lights on the surface of the moon, about strange things that seem to be happening. And they're strange in the sense that there's not a scientific explanation. There's scientific speculation, but not information, like the transient light phenomena that occur there. There's all kinds of speculation from the scientific perspective. Well, it could be some kind of volcanic activity. It could be maybe some kind of space debris flying by or something like that. But they don't know for sure. They only have these speculations explaining them. And there's a whole catalog of these things. I forget what it's called, but a whole catalog of all these lunar phenomena that are not explainable, at least currently. So, if you want to count that as evidence that there is stuff there, then that's evidence. Now, let's talk about from the remote viewing perspective. The reason that particular project that I was asked to work, the reason Ingo wanted to do that is because he had been contacted by someone who had some resources, who reported that, or who had information that there were some of these odd phenomena happening at that location. This was on the far side of the moon, so it must have been some orbiting spacecraft that picked it up. And so they asked Ingo to put together a project to remote view that location, because getting any kind of space probe there anytime soon was not going to happen in the mid 90s. And so that's where that came from, that it was checking up on something that had been observed that did not have an explanation. So the suggestion then is maybe there's some stuff going on there. My data, so I told you what I discovered. I actually got more detail than Ingo or the other guy who was working it got, but our general descriptions meshed. They were very similar, and that of course helps you have confidence that the data you get beyond that has some legitimacy to it, okay, or at least potentially does. Now, Ingo I did another project with him, which I'm right now forgetting exactly how that turned out, but he worked a further project, at least one and maybe two, that I wasn't involved in, and I do have some of the records from that. And he perceived aliens, basically, we'll call them aliens, entities of some kind, on the moon at a location. And as he described it, it was a base. There's hemispherical structures, I guess you could call them, and they were clustered around and grouped. And he essentially was kicked off the moon because he got there and somebody there said, "You're not supposed to be here. What are you doing here? Get out of here." And I have the recording of this session that he worked with a good friend of his, Bob Durant, a good friend of mine too. Unfortunately, he's gone as well, but I have the recording of the session, and Ingo is talking about, okay, this is what I'm seeing. I'm getting this. I'm getting this. I'm getting this. And there's somebody here. I don't know how we refer to him. There's somebody here, and they're saying, "You don't belong here. Get out of here." And Ingo said, "It's just like the signal was cut off. He was gone. He wasn't there anymore. And that was quite intriguing to listen to that recording. So at least remote viewing evidence seems to indicate there are bases there. There are entities, ETs, whatever you want to call them there. And it stands to reason if they are visiting us that putting a base there is not an illogical thing, especially given what I said about Pat Price last time. Pat Price's report of 4 different bases on the surface of the Earth. Well, it's quite likely if those bases really are there, that there might be something on the moon as well. So,
were you able to see the alien species there?
I did not actually observe the entities. I did observe this biomechanical thing, and I drew a sketch of it, fairly detailed sketch of it. But I did not pick up on the actual individual entities here, nor did Ingo, at least in this one session. You couldn't describe. Now, I did work one with when Skip Atwater had me work the Pat Price session on Mount Hayes. I did perceive individuals there, and I think I may have told you about that. I don't remember now. Anyway, but I didn't necessarily perceive them accurately enough to actually give you a physical description. I was more picking up on their consciousness, more their thoughts and their feelings, and how, oftentimes during the 80s, the U.S. soldiers in Korea really didn't want to be there. Right? These guys had that sort of same feeling, like, oh, there's a duty assignment. I don't want to be here. I want to go home. That kind of a thing. And that's more what I picked up on. So I couldn't give you a good description of them.
But you were confident. If you were to put your confidence on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you stand on that there are beings on the moon?
So I'm going to go for around 6 or 7, because you always have to allow some room for your imagination kicking in a remote viewing session and messing you up. But the reason I think 6 or 7 is because there is some corroborating information about that. The fact that I and Ingo and this other guy described the setting in exactly the same way, drew very similar sketches. And even though we were working independently, and of course I presume the other guy had no idea what we were even remote viewing, that's pretty good confirmation that there's something to this, right? And so, the only time I'd say 10 out of 10 would be if we actually landed there and invited one of them aboard. And that's your 10 out of 10 right there. It's when you actually have physical confirmation, right?
That is true. Do you think then, or are you allowed to remote view into the idea that we may already have humans and bases on the moon and we have craft getting there? Now a lot of people would say that ties into a secret space program, but I believe there's humans there. I think there's a big reason why we never went back to the moon.
Because we didn't go back, we just never didn't stop going. Is that it? Is that what you mean?
Bingo.
Yeah. And okay, so I have nothing to base on this from a remote viewing perspective. I can't ground any opinion on the remote viewing because I've never remote viewed the moon to find out if there's humans there. And so I don't know, based on what I know of our current state of science and how obvious it would be if we were actually launching spacecraft capable of getting to the moon, I'm pretty doubtful. I have to be honest with you, tell you, I'm pretty doubtful that that's true. But obviously there are things that I don't know. And if we do indeed have alien spacecraft like David Grush says, and this new guy, I forget what his name is, if we do indeed have those things, it's not beyond the possibility that we have reverse engineered them sufficiently to have spacefaring craft created that could actually communicate, could go back and forth to the moon without it creating the same signature like a Saturn V or whatever Musk's rocket is called. I forget what it's called. I mean, those things are pretty obvious. When they take off. You may not see it from. I'm sorry. Where are you at? Where's your studio?
I'm in central British Columbia.
Okay, that's right. So you're up in British Columbia. You may not see it take off, but let me tell you, every country in the world with significant radars will know that that's happened, right? And there's a lot of them who wouldn't want that to be true, particularly the Russians and the Chinese, because that gives us an advantage. That would give us an advantage, a massive advantage over them. So I have my doubts. Now, I'm not going to rule it out as a possibility because I don't know everything. And it's possible we've reverse engineered enough alien technology that we could do it without alerting people to that fact. But to me, that's just speculation at the moment. And like I say, the same thing with finding an alien on the moon, landing there and inviting him into my spaceship. That's kind of how I feel. I'll be convinced that we have bases and humans on the moon when I get some really hard evidence that that's the case. So,
do you believe then that the moon would be an outpost for these craft coming to Earth?
Well, I mean, that if they're there, that would be a very logical reason for them to be there. I mean, you think about if that's an inhospitable environment for us, which it is, it's bound to be inhospitable for them. So they would have to have a good reason to be there. I don't think they'd be there as a vacation spot by any stretch of imagination. So I think it probably is a sort of advanced base, an off-Earth base for coming and going and possibly observation and stuff like that. It would be perfectly logical for them to do something like that, which to me makes it even a little bit more likely, because we know that these these UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena, right? We know that they're visiting us because we have gotten some really good evidence that they exist and that they're real. Now, if they are alien technology, they're coming from other worlds, that's one thing. Now, if they're coming from our future, the need for a lunar base is probably a little less likely. But if they're extraterrestrials, I think it's very plausible that they would need to have a base, or at least it'd be very helpful for them to have a base on the moon, at least one.
That's so interesting. Have you ever remote viewed one of, something that is still highly controversial on whether or not we landed on the moon?
No, that's never been. Well, let me think now. I don't think I have. I know that lunar landers have been remote viewed by some of my colleagues. It was in fact a practice target that, and I don't know which lunar lander it was. I mean, we're talking back in the 80s when it was on the, like a probe, I think, that was landed and then it never left again, right? That was given to one of my colleagues as a target. He was totally blind to it, and he described it and sketched the darn thing. And he didn't know he was remote viewing Mars, right? So I know that was there based on remote viewing. And if you think about it, the odds of it being there are really good because, first of all, we have all of the photographic and the space flight telemetry and all that stuff that says it was there. That could be faked. Obviously, people think the moon landing is faked, right? But that could be faked. But if somebody who's totally blind to the target remote views something and actually accurately describes that lander, that makes it highly likely that it's really there, that it wasn't faked, right? That's like a second evidentiary stream that's totally independent of the other evidence. That's really good. That's really good foundational stuff, right? Now, they've obviously left landers on the moon. I don't know that I've ever been asked to remote view that, and I don't know if any of my colleagues have been targeted on the lunar landers that were still there, the modules or whatever they call them, right? But that would be interesting to try. Get some remote viewers totally unsuspecting of that being a target, and have them work it and see what they come in with. You know what? You've given me an idea here, Dave. I think that might be a fun project to do.
Oh,
I know I may be contaminating my viewer pool if any of those guys are listening in, but that's okay. It's not that hard to find a viewer that doesn't know, that has no inkling that you're going to target them on something specific. So interesting thought.
I
So
think
that was worth coming on the show for, just right there.
No, do it. The audience is saying in the chat room, you got to do it. You have no choice now. What about, have you ever taken a look at Mars?
I think, yes, I have done some sessions on Mars. I don't recall what I found in those. I didn't purposely do that. At Fort Meade, of course, we were mostly doing military-related, intelligence-related targets, and every once in a while, our handlers, if you will, would sneak in a UFO or an off-planet thing without letting us know that it was anything different than what we'd worked otherwise. And so in one respect, that made the stuff we got more legitimate because we didn't know what we were doing, and then all of a sudden there we were. I have worked on Mars. I can't remember what it was. It was slipped in on me. I've done what's the moon of? Is it Jupiter? Titan? Is that how you pronounce it? Titan? The moon of Titan? Or is it Jupiter? That's the moon of. I forget. I've done, what else did they have me do? The Pat Price bases. Oh, and the various UFO. Okay, I think that's mostly the off-planet stuff I did. The moon, one or two on Mars, and one or two out in the outer planets. But that's about it. And I don't think I got anything exceptional in any of those. Now, some of my other colleagues have. I mentioned one. It was Tom McNair, actually, who remote viewed that Mars lander. Tom was it still is an awesome remote viewer. Ingo Swan called Tom his best ever student, and it's absolutely true. Tom just blew the doors off of some of those sessions. It was amazing. Now let me think. Now I lost the thread of where I was going. I was trying to figure out who else had remote view. Joe McMonigle was tasked to remote view Mars. In fact, you know what? I'm going to get up out of camera view just for a second. I'll be right back. I'm going to get something off my shelf.
No worries. I love this conversation right now. It is so amazing. You know, and the thing is, we could probably all do it if we trained.
Well, and that was one of the things that they discovered at SRI. Might have mentioned it last week, in fact, or last time, but I think I did. But everybody, within certain extreme cases, if somebody who's extremely autistic, they may not be able to do it, although maybe they can. We haven't really tested that, or whatever. But by and large, everybody has the ability to do it to some degree. And as with any other complex skill, you have the ability, but you may not be able to because you've not learned how to do it. And if you learn how to do it, just about everybody's had some success with remote viewing that was ever tried it out. Kind of like Marriage, Elias Marriage, the Hollywood director I told you about. He was convinced he couldn't do it, and it blew his mind when he was really successful at it. Why I got up, I wanted to show you this book. Just to give a plug for my one of my buddies. This was Skip Atwater, F. Holmes Atwater. He was the operations and training officer at Fort Meade, and he's the one that worked us on the Pat Price UFO bases in the four mountains. And Skip took the data that he developed from that, and just this year, or just last year, I guess 2024, collected them in this book along with the relevant Pat Price transcripts and published it. And there's all four of Joe's sessions are in here. Well, I can't show you, but and the one I worked on Mount Hayes, and Bill Ray's in here, Charlene Schufelt, Fern Gobbin, a bunch of the viewers that were at Fort Meade that were worked on these projects. All of their sessions transcripts are in there, and you can
remote viewing with Dr. Paul H. Smith continues right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear.
Okay.
I can't RV. I just live in one. That is hilarious. That is.
So I
awesome.
noticed somebody's put my contact info on. I appreciate that. That was Paramarv. Thank
Paramarv
you. I
there.
appreciate
Yep.
putting that up there.
Yeah, Paramarv's the kind of guy who likes a real 2 scoops of raisins in his raisin bran.
Okay.
I Blast Face Records. Welcome to SOR Chat. Lisa B, welcome back. Lisa doesn't like that middle bumper. She doesn't like that one.
There's a kind of a raucous thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost time to change them up again. Excuse me. I'll never leave you either, Lisa B. She's like, I never left, Dave. I never left. That was almost Hallmark-like. Hallmark Channel right there. Yeah. Can't believe how many votes spinach got. You know what else, in my opinion, qualifies for spinach? With spinach? Zucchini is one of them, yes. Kale and quinoa. No. Just throw it all out. Throw it all out. Leave it in the garden. All right. Oh, and then Lisa B says, "Oh, you silver fox, you." Oh, Lisa B. Wherever we may roam, we shall do it together. Mm-hmm. Zucchini just needs, it's a waste. Yeah. It's a waste. My mom used to grow zucchini in her garden, and she would make zucchini bread, and I hated it, but I never said no to my mom. I hated it. So the minute she would pack my lunch for school with zucchini bread in there, yeah, it would go right in the garbage.
Oh, that might have been a good trading opportunity. You might have found somebody who liked it and they'd trade you for a bologna sandwich.
Now, if it was banana bread, yeah, banana bread, that's the cat's meow right there, banana bread. I astral traveled once. I was being tested on my astral travel, and my helper was like, "Okay, I want you to come find me." I didn't know where she lived in Washington State, and so I showed up at her door, described the outside, opened up the door. I look to the left. I see a TV. Can't see what's on the TV, but I see the couch there, and the cat sleeping on the end of the couch. And I'm like, "Okay, where are you?" She goes, "I'm over here. Find me." So I walk past her dining room table to describe her dining room table, walk into her kitchen, and I said, "You really need to throw those bananas out on the counter because they're looking really, really brown." She goes, "I'm making banana bread tomorrow." I was like, that is kind of cool. That is kind of cool.
So you ever been to Maui?
No, there's sharks around there. I don't do sharks.
If you drive to Hana from the main part of the island, there's this twisty, turny road that goes along the cliffs all the way. It's crazy. It's crazy, twisty, turny. But every time you come around a bend, there's another little stand where they're selling banana bread. That's a I don't know. It's a cottage industry there. It's quite interesting.
I like a good banana bread.
Yeah.
You know, I like a good banana bread. It's good stuff. You know, I'll be in the minority of this one, but growing up in Abbotsford, can't stand raspberries anymore. Yeah. Like everything, like where I grew up, it's called the raspberry capital of the world. And I cannot do raspberries. I can't do it. Strawberries and blueberries, I could totally do. Oh, strawberry jam. Yeah. But you know what? I got into a big argument with my dad when I was over there about marmalade. Yeah, you're old enough for marmalade. Yeah, of course you're old enough for orange marmalade. I'm Irish. Of course you are. Right? All right. All right. Let's we got 19 seconds. Thank you to Big Dog and Cosmic Joe for our loan super chats tonight. Appreciate the love and support. Don't forget you can shop at their Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. You can wear our stuff out in public and actually be proud to wear it. It's true. I'm wearing a hoodie right now. So make sure you check it on out at spacedoutradio.com. And here we go, everybody. Here we go in the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Remote viewing the moon, Mars, and where in the world is Carmen San Diego? Dr. Paul H. Smith is our guest tonight. My name is Dave Scott, hosting this awesome train wreck of a show that we love the woo, called the Mighty SOR. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go, Dr. Paul H. Smith, looking at Mars, looking at the moon, looking at whether or not we went to the moon. Before we get to audience questions, just your thoughts to finish up on that.
Well, I do have to tell you, I knew the sixth man to walk on the moon, who was Edgar Mitchell. Edgar Mitchell. And I had this conversation with him about that. It was a private conversation. We got him to be the keynote speaker for the 2001 remote viewing conference in Las Vegas, and I was the organizer of the conference, and so I got some free time with him. And I asked him that. I said, okay, there's this talk that we never walked on the moon, that we never went to the moon. What do you have to say to that? He said, I absolutely walked on the moon. I was there. I know it's true, so that's kind of my go-to on this, is because he was a very principled guy. He was very ethical, and he was absolutely sincere when he answered that question. He was not blowing smoke. He was not wasn't hesitating. He was absolutely firm in saying that he had actually walked on the moon. So that's what I have to tell you.
Love it. Love it. You ready for some audience questions?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's start off with Paul Demon. I think we asked this the last time you were on a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure if you've checked them out, but if you have, what's your thoughts on the telepathy tapes? Everybody's talking about this.
So I have in mind to listen to them. So that's Kai Dickens, right? She's the one that,
yes.
Yeah. So I've come across her in another context, but I haven't listened to these. But I think at least one of them has, I can see her face, Diane Powell. Is she not featured on all of them, right? Since I haven't listened to her, I don't know, but I know that she's one of the people who are featured on it. And Diane, I know her from a long time ago. We met at a Parapsychological Association conference in Seattle, and she's really straightforward. So I can't tell you much about content, but her big thing is ESP and kids, and particularly autistic kids, and she's got a lot of data. So I'm kind of fascinated by this, but that's not much of an answer because I have not dug into those. I do have a lot of other things I end up having to do, but that puts it back on my radar again. So we'll see what happens.
All right, let's move on to Vincent. Have you ever looked into the black-eyed kid phenomena?
Well, I have to be honest. That's a new one on me. I don't even know what it is.
Oh, that's these children. They're usually dressed in hoodies, and their eyes are jet black, no pupils. Or it's all pupil, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. And they're always asking if they could use your phone or come inside your house. And apparently it's not a very comfortable feeling. Let's go to Sierra. Paul, how are aliens manipulating consciousness through their technology?
They may not be using their technology. Well, it depends on how you define technology. You can have the basically artificial technology, which involves nuts and bolts and wires and transistors and all that stuff, or something far more sophisticated than that, but it's still technology. We, in the military, sometimes talked about human technology, and that was things like remote viewing and coming up with methodological ways of applying human capacities that are not necessarily recognized by mainstream science, so such as remote viewing or telepathy or whatever. And in that sense, there's you could think of consciousness technology, and it's that the aliens are manipulating. They've learned how to use their minds, the conscious aspects of their minds, to manage and manipulate what they want us, and presumably other species as well, to perceive or believe. And so how does that work? If we knew, we would be light years ahead of where we are right now with remote viewing and such.
All right, let's go to Hillbilly Herb. Are there any standout Hollywood portrayals of remote viewing that really got it right?
Unfortunately, no. In fact, there are very few portrayals of remote viewing in Hollywood. It was mentioned once on the X-Files. It was in this movie. And I just lost the bubble on the movie. Suspect Zero. Then, of course, there was Men Who Stare at Goats, which was totally off the mark. I mean, I don't want to put the movie down because I really enjoyed it. I thought it was amusing as heck. I enjoyed the movie. But the only true thing about it is the catchphrase at the beginning. It said, "More of this is true than you might believe," or you might think, or whatever. It was, a typical Hollywood satire or whatever, send up of everything remote viewing. It was based, of course, on a book called the same thing, Men Who Stare at Goats, by a British journalist, John Ronson. And the book was, again, I enjoyed the book, but if you thought you were going to learn something about remote viewing from that book, you weren't, because he went around the remote viewing community and a few other communities and hoovered up all the stories he could find. Didn't bother to check whether they had any truth to them or not. Threw out the stuff that didn't agree with what he wanted to, how he wanted to portray it, and essentially cherry picked all of the juicy stories, whether they were true or not, and put them all together in a really odd kind of a way. And any kind of conflated remote viewing and the psychic program with psychological operations, which is an entirely different thing. They are not related at all. But he kind of squished them all together, and that also happened in the movie. And so, as far as Suspect Zero, Men Who Stare at Ghosts are the only two films that I know of that have any significant element of remote viewing them at all. And I think it's high time that somebody does a legitimate movie about remote viewing. But so far, I don't know who's doing it. I mean, there's documentaries, obviously, but actual narrative films, I think that's a big gap that somebody ought to fill.
No kidding. Thank you for answering that. All right, let's move on to another question here. Let's go to Jules here. What is the difference between using an outbounder and telepathy?
So, that's a useful question here, and I'm glad that was asked. So the Ingo Swann pioneered the outbounder experimental model when he was working with the American Society of Psychical Research in New York City back in '71. And when he became a consultant with SRI, in California a couple of years later. He brought that along, and it was then refined and further developed by Targ and Puthoff. And then people wanted to come along. You get these scientists who are trying to replicate the approach, and they all assumed that it was telepathic. They all assumed that what was happening is the remote viewer was really reading the minds of the outbound team, and they were picking up what was in their heads. That's not the way it works at all. It's not a telepathic connection. In fact, in many occasions, the remote viewer would pick up things at the target that the outbounder team had no awareness of. They could not. The remote viewer could not possibly have got it from their minds. For example, in one of the targets was this really sophisticated machine shop, and there was I can't remember, it was a drill press or a bandsaw, but it was about 8 feet or 9 feet high. It was really tall, and there was a bunch of gears in the top. And the remote viewer, the outbound team, just walked around the shop. They didn't get up and look in or anything like that. The remote viewer accurately sketched the gears in the top of that machine. Okay. Another case, the remote viewer sketched and described things on top of a building that the outbound team had gone to visit that were accurate. That was an accurate description of the roof, but the outbound team never went to the roof. And so it's very clear that if there's any telepathy involved, the whole thing isn't telepathy, that there is really something going on here that is beyond telepathy. And so I guess you could think remote viewing is in an outbounder setting. Remote viewing is really more of a clairvoyant kind of a discipline than a telepathic one. And a clairvoyant one is your consciousness is actually in some way externalized to the target and is able to pick up information that the people who are there don't themselves know.
Let's go to another one. Thank you for answering that. D. Saifa is asking, Paul, have you ever had an out-of-body experience? And is it used in your research?
I don't know if I have. Yeah, there are some folks who have out-of-body experiences when they're asleep, but usually they don't realize it even unless somehow they wake up in the middle and whatever. So I don't know. I have tried to have them, particularly back when I was in the program. I did go to, I know somebody asked a question about a gateway. I think it might have been Sierra, but I went through a gateway at the Monroe Institute as one of the very first things I did at the remote viewing program, because we were working with the Monroe Institute at the time. And I never had an out-of-body experience that I would identify as an out-of-body experience. And no, I don't use it in my research or my operational work or my training, because it's kind of a different thing than remote viewing. You can think of, they're probably related. There's probably some connection, but remote viewing, in remote viewing, you are still aware of being in the remote viewing room, and you feel as if in some way you're projecting your consciousness and perceiving, but that you're not actually there. Now, in the out of body, obviously, you feel like you've left your body. You go to a location, and you feel like you're at that place. There's some advantages and disadvantages here. The advantages to remote viewing. Well, the advantage to remote viewing is that if you're trained and you're doing it right, you go where you're intended to go, where you need to go, and you collect information real time. So as you're experiencing the information, you're reporting it, you're writing it down, you're sketching it, you're trying to capture, you're verbalizing it and stuff as you're experiencing it. An out-of-body experience, people have claimed that they can control where they go, but I haven't seen real good evidence for that. Usually you just spontaneously go somewhere, right? And you don't intend to go there. You just are somehow attracted to any particular location. And then when you don't report on any of your experience real time, you have to wait till you get back to report on it. And so now you have to rely on your memory to remember the stuff you experience. Okay, so that's kind of the difference between the two.
Sierra would like to know, do you know if Joe McGonigal was involved in psyops with aliens?
He never ever said he was. in any of my time with him. And he's never talked about having done that. And he doesn't act like he did. So I'm going to have to say, I don't think he's done that kind of thing. I'm not even actually quite sure what that means, psyops with aliens. It doesn't mean that we're trying to psych them out in some way or that we're being psyched out by them. Psyops means you try and manipulate, right? You try and manipulate using psychological principles. Brainwashing is an example of psyops. Mind control would be a kind of psyops, I guess you could say.
Let's continue on. Let's go to Jules again. She says, my RV mentor usually only assigns targets that have feedback. If you do well with those, should you have the confidence in targets without feedback?
So first of all, you call her Jules?
Yeah.
Okay, Jules. First of all, congratulations on having a mentor who understands the principles here. There are so many people out there who will run people who they're trying to train. They run them on non-feedbackable targets, and it's really hard to learn to be a good remote viewer when you get targets that there is no feedback on, because you can't tell whether you even got it right or not. So that's a really important principle. I'm glad that that's happening with you. But yes, if you do well on targets where you have confirmation and you know that you did well on those, there is an increased chance that you may be able to do reasonably well on a target that you don't get feedback on. Now, of course, that's complicated. First off, that assumes the target is actually real. Now, at Fort Meade, we worked plenty of training targets where we had feedback. And we worked plenty of operational targets where we never got feedback, either because they were never able to find out whether what we reported was accurate or not, or it was so classified that they couldn't tell us once they found out whether what we reported was accurate or not. And oftentimes they just blew us off. They said, okay, we got your data. They didn't say this to us, but okay, we got their data. We're going to move on. We're not going to bother telling about it. So the way we would try and make sure as we could that we were on was we'd work what we called a calibration target first. And if on that target we accurately described the calibration target, that gave us some confidence that when we worked the target we weren't going to get feedback on, that we were hopefully reporting legitimate data.
Jay Mufon, Section State Director, is asking, what do you think about the Gateway program?
So that's an interesting question too. That's been in the news. Maybe for the last 5 years, every now and then it'll pop up out of the woodwork again. So the Gateway program is a standard training module at the Monroe Institute where they run you through different levels using hemispheric synchronization, which are these phased sounds that try and entrain your brains and get you to get in certain states of mind. That's a very rough and very brief explanation to it, but it's been a standard at the Monroe Institute since probably about 1978, maybe 79, something like that, maybe a little earlier than that. And it's still pursued, and you go through different levels and stuff, and you go through it, and in 1980. I'm going to say around 82 or 83, this guy, Lieutenant Colonel, was asked by a colonel, his commander of the U.S. Army Ops Group, to go to the Gateway, go to the Monroe Institute, and take a Gateway program and evaluate it, and come back and tell him if it was worth pursuing. And so he went down there, he did it. And in the meantime, he also referenced, when he created his report, he talked about the Gateway program, but he also referenced a number of popular physics books back then, the Dancing Woolly Pendulum, or Dancing Woolly Masters, and Stalking the Wild Pendulum, I think were two of them, which talked about consciousness and quantum physics and such. And he kind of borrowed from that, and he created this kind of model or this idea and analysis of the Gateway program. And there's a lot of speculation in what it might do. But that report was meant for his colonel. It had an audience of one. We at Fort Meade got in the remote viewing program got a copy of it, and since then it's become this almost fable. You'll see the headlines: CIA explores life after death, or whatever, or the CIA, your tax dollars went to look at the human consciousness and out of body experience and all that stuff, and it really blows that out of proportion. Now, the document in and of itself is really quite fascinating. That Lieutenant Colonel, his last name was O'Donnell, I think. He was actually the commander of a subunit of Army Operations Group, Det O. I thought his analysis was really quite interesting. It's not necessarily true in the sense that there's foundational fact there, but it's a speculation on what all this stuff might mean that's very legitimate, and it's a very legitimate thing. It's not a magical treatise or anything like that, but it's certainly worth reading. But just be careful. Remember, the context isn't how the media tends to portray it as.
Very true. Super Crazy is asking, what is your favorite UFO/alien movie?
Oh, wow. My wife and my son were absolutely thrilled with the Alien series, but I don't think I've ever watched one of them all the way through. I've watched chunks of them. I don't know. Does Star Trek or does Star Wars count? I don't know. Maybe not.
I think so.
Yeah. So I like those. You know what? I liked Signs, the Mel Gibson movie. I thought that was quite interesting. I think one of the interesting things about it was the aliens were vulnerable to water. I mean, that's kind of like the same sort of device from War of the Worlds, where in War of the Worlds, it was like the common cold or some disease that ended the invasion of the aliens. And in Signs, it was rain. So some mundane thing ends up being a solution when humans fail at using all their wonderful devices and weapons and stuff to win. I do like Independence Day, I have to say. I do like Independence Day. And a lot of people don't like that because they think, well, wait a minute, that shows the aliens as bad guys. Well, I think there are probably bad guy aliens out there. I don't think they all are. I think there's some friendly aliens like E.T., I think there's friendly ones, but I think there's bad guy aliens as well. At least we should be worried that there might be. Anyway, so I don't know. That's not much of an answer, but
2 minutes. We're going to rapid fire some questions at you here, okay?
Okay, I'll try and be quick.
All right. Xanos is asking, have you ever remote viewed the end of the world?
No.
Perfect. Tuxin Mufon is asking, sounds like remote viewing was only a job and not a hobby. Why not?
Well, when it's a job, it's not a hobby by definition, right? I had no idea the thing existed. Remote viewing existed. They came and picked me out. Well, that's a longer story. I might have told some of it last time. And so it was always my day job when I was doing it. And now it's still my day job when I teach people and do it. So playing guitar, fishing, and shooting at the range are my hobbies, among a few others. So,
love it. All right. Continuing on. Sandra is asking, have you ever remote viewed inner Earth? Is there a hollow Earth?
I have never been tasked on that, so I've never remote viewed it.
Lotus Spider is asking, if two people are remote viewing at a location, can they see each other?
It's very unlikely. There are a few stories where they did. I'm a little doubtful that they did.
Final question from Owl, new listener, 30 seconds. Was Angela Ford and Joe McGonigal the most proficient viewers in the Stargate unit? And is that why Ed May went on to work with them?
No. Now, Joe, arguably, and it's hard to sort this out. It's very hard to say who's most proficient because people have ups and downs in the remote viewing world, and there's no real measurement. Angela was a good remote viewer, but she was not one of the most proficient. We had some folks who were really barn burners. She did some really good stuff. I don't want to, take anything away from her. Joe was a good remote viewer, an excellent remote viewer, but he also was wrong sometimes. That happens with everybody, right?
Got to say goodnight to Dr. Paul H. Smith and Swamp Dwellers next to kick off hour 3.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Thank you, buddy.
You're welcome. I'm happy to
that.
do it. I'm also happy to get some rest, so thank you.
Not a problem. Really appreciate you taking the time so quickly back to back like that.
You betcha. And of course, in the future, I'm happy to do it again. Probably not quite so soon next time, but
No, we'll give you a few months rest.
okay, that's fair.
All right, take care, Paul.
You betcha. You too. Thanks.
Night. Awesome guest. Awesome guest. Love him. We'll be right back, guys. Very true. All right. Let's get ready here. All right. How you guys doing? And come on, load up. It's a nice bald head you have there, Tim. Can see you now. You're a little cut off. You're a little high. There you go. Perfect. Now your head's in trailer. We got a minute to go here. Robert Redmond, nice to see you. Mr. Cowley, thanks for coming on in. Remember, if you're new here, we are here 7 days a week. Don't forget to hit subscribe, ring that bell. We'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you. I think we're caught up on the people. That's good stuff. Lee's growing a beard. Considering he's British, that'll be about 14 years before he gets a little stubble. He's too far away, Joe. I can't punch him in the shoulder. Why do you want to punch me in the shoulder? I don't know. Here we go. Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We got Swamp Dweller coming up. Little Timmy James. With the UFO report. And we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Altruism. Altruism is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. I have been having lots of nightmares over the years, and honestly, it's very terrifying. Sometimes I would have dreams of ghosts, haunting some of my friends and families, or going on night fishing with a friend at my grandfather's house and hearing cries and screams, or I would say something and I would hear my own voice come back to me, coming from the neighbor's house across the lake or next door. Anyway, on to the story. This happened a few weeks ago. It was around 10 p.m. Central Time for me, and I was very exhausted as it was a busy day. So I fell asleep, and in my dream, I remember being in my backyard, playing with a stick or something. I was playing until I heard a crack like someone stepping on a stick. I turned, and to this day, this will terrify me forever. What I saw was a creature that had blue, charcoal-like skin. I don't know how else to describe it. It also had claws, and the legs were twisted with claws, and looked like some four-legged creature with tall elbows with drool running down its mouth. It also had long, extremely sharp-looking teeth. I ran back to the house and the door was locked and the creature made a monstrous roar. My mom came out and asked what was wrong. I explained everything to her, and she said that she was going to check it out. She took forever, and I went out and saw the, thing, I'll call it that from now on, hiding in the trees. But my mom said she didn't see anything. I guess I went outside to play. I know it's stupid to go outside, but it was just a dream. And I remember seeing blue jays, and my parents came outside with the same exact stick I was playing with and said it's okay. Then I just simply woke up. No sweat in my bed, nothing. I simply just woke up. I'm sharing this because it was stuck in my mind every day, and I hope I never see anything like it again. If anybody knows anything about dreams or premonitions or anything, could this possibly mean anything?
Thank you to Swamp Dweller for another spooky story. If you want more, just head to his YouTube channel, youtube.com/Swamp Dweller, and you can check out thousands of stories just like that for free. Here we go.
That is an interplanetary flying space saucer. You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
All right, Tim James is here with the UFO Report. Tim, it's always good to have you in studio. How you doing?
I'm doing good, and I love being in studio.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
We had a big debate earlier on
Yes.
during one of the breaks.
Mm-hmm.
Spinach or Brussels sprouts?
Brussels sprouts, man.
Man,
Yeah. Spinach, it's like when people put spinach in lasagna. That's just wrong.
totally wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I got surprised by that once.
Once.
Yeah, never liked it again.
No.
No, I always ask.
Yeah.
I always ask now because that's the kind of surprise you don't need in life.
Yeah, I get it.
You know?
It's like having kale in your sandwich or in salad or something.
You know what kale's good for? Reptiles.
That's
Reptiles love kale.
And it's good garnish in salad bars, too.
It's a good garnish, but eating it, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Not a fan.
Yeah. So a few years ago, because here's my other one, quinoa. Yes, I know it's pronounced quinoa,
Uh-huh.
but I like pronouncing it quinoa.
Yeah.
All right. So the missus decides one day that we're on this health kick. You know?
I get
She's
it.
wanting to go more vegetarian at this time.
Okay.
So she decides that she was going to make, roasted stuffed peppers. Usually
Okay.
you put beef in them.
Mm-hmm.
Not this time.
Mm.
It was filled with quinoa.
Uh,
So after eating horse pellets for the third bite, I looked at my kids, looked at the better half,
mm-hmm.
and I said, "Kids, what do you want for McDonald's?"
Nuggets.
We went to McDonald's.
Uh-huh.
Went to McDonald's. That's right. So either way. Oh,
I like quinoa.
no.
It's got to be, I just can't have it boiled in water. You got to put it with like a base or something. But yeah, just.
You know how friends don't let friends UAP?
Yes, I do.
I don't want friends to have to quinoa. Okay.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, we're good. Don't worry. We'll get that quinoa out of you. We will. We will.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. So a weird time in ufology right now, I think.
Just a little bit.
I want to start off with this one right off the bat because this one's bugging the hell out of me.
Which one?
Dr. Stephen Greer.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay. Now, I'm going to just be nice and warn people
Yes.
about this. This doesn't take an insult to anybody's personal preferences,
Mm-mm.
their sexuality, or
Mm-mm.
anything like that. But we got to talk about this, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, Stephen Greer went on and he kind of trashed, I guess, Ross Coulthart and the Jake Barber and the egg and all that sort of stuff. So I'll just give you a little bit of it. Recent developments in the field of UFO research have brought new claims and controversies to light. Dr. Stephen Greer, a prominent figure in ufology, has responded to a News Nation piece featuring Jake Barber, a special forces operative allegedly involved in retrieving extraterrestrial vehicles. The story has sparked discussion about government secrecy, operational security, and the potential risks faced by whistleblowers in this sensitive area. The unfolding narrative touches on various aspects of UFO phenomenon, including alleged crash recoveries, psionic. I can't.
Psionic.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Psionic abilities and the existence of non-human intelligence craft. As more individuals come forward with their experience, the UFO community eagerly anticipates further revelations while grappling with the challenges of verifying these extraordinary claims. So Dr. Stephen Greer addressed Jake Barber's report. So he responded to Jake Barber's recent news segment on News Nation. The report covered topics such as an egg-shaped UFO, crash recovery, video footage, and different experiments. Greer stated he first met Barber approximately 20 months ago. He described Barber as a special forces operative now embedded with a major aerospace company. According to Greer, the key takeaways from the News Nation segment was that Barber and his associates are beginning to disclose information about their involvement in retrieving extraterrestrial vehicles, now referred to as non-human intelligent craft. The original plan, as explained by Greer, was to anonymously collect and present hard evidence of these operations, including details about the craft, operators, and locations. This approach was intended to protect the safety and security of those involved. Greer mentioned that there have been recent fatalities related to individuals attempting to come forward with this information. Greer emphasized the need for government protection, including executive orders and congressional bills to provide amnesty and safety for those involved in these allegedly illegal operations. He stated he is advising a separate team working on this aspect of disclosure, distinct from Barber's whistleblower group. So Greer mentioned facilities in Chihuahua Desert where some of these operations are allegedly held. Ross Kohler, speaking on News Nation, corroborated some aspects of Barber's accounts. He described participating in field exercises near Fort Bragg with Barber and elite military personnel who expressed internal psychotic phenomenon. So in a separate video clip, Greer discusses, and this is what we were talking about, P3 operators. Individuals with psychotic abilities allegedly used in secret programs. He claimed these operators are often left-handed, bisexual, or gay individuals with innate intuitive abilities. Oh, what? I said, pardon?
So in other words, to be a man in this field,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be left-handed.
Yep.
You have to be bisexual or gay in order to contact the aliens.
Apparently. That's what I'm getting from it.
There's a couple things I don't like about this.
Really?
Just a couple.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to be dead serious here for a
100%.
second because I am left-handed.
Mm-hmm.
I am hetero.
Mm-hmm.
But I have in the past summoned UFOs.
Right.
Okay. So I would like to know, and I wish when people do studies like this that are going to be controversial.
Yeah.
Here's what they never put in. Why wouldn't you put in the statistics of that? Okay. Because there are patterns to everything. I'm not saying his stats are wrong.
No.
Okay. I don't think sexuality has anything to do with contacting aliens.
Yeah.
But if it does, I want to see the percentage of that.
Yeah.
Is it a 68%, a 94%? What is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I think that makes a big difference because the problem with ufology of the world in general right now, if you just come out and blanket statement something like that, number one, you're insultive of the people who are part of the study because you're not showing the breakdown of it. I mean, it's the same thing as me saying that, out of that percentage, they're Hispanic, they're bisexual or gay, and left-handed. Color has nothing to do with it. Sexuality has nothing to do with it. Now, it might be because a lot of more effeminate men or people who identify as gay or bisexual or whatever their choice may be,
Sure,
they're more into spiritual things. So because they're more into meditation and telekinesis and psychic adventures and
Sure.
intuition, that may be the reason why. But it doesn't mean an overall blanket statement, which he is making. That's what I don't like.
No, I agree.
Number two, it's the same thing with people always saying that UFO community for a number of years went through the RH negative blood.
Yes.
Like only people with RH negative blood were being taken by the aliens. That's not true.
Mhm.
In fact, if you look at a lot of studies, most people who are abducted have O positive or O negative blood.
Okay. Yeah. That's right. That's right.
Mainly O positive. But is that the only reason? No, because you have people with AB, O negative, or whatever the blood type you are, that are being taken.
Right.
It's a human trait.
Yes.
Okay. The other thing that I don't like about this is if you're out there in the public looking in on the UFO world where you already think the people who study this are a bunch of weirdos and a bunch of idiots, all you're doing is confirming what they think, because people are shallow. And when they see something like this, it's not good, a good look for the community. Dr. Greer always talks about what can we do to make things better? Well, yet he's a feeder into this garbage that people throw, or garbage category that people throw us into.
Yeah.
I don't like it. All right.
Yeah.
People are people. I know straight people who've been taken and have summoned. I know gay people. I know transsexual people who have been taken. I know Black people, Hispanic people, Japanese people, Native First Nations people, white people, my God. Okay. I know them all, many of those cultures that have been taken.
Yeah.
And you know what? Here's one thing that I do know that I'm positive about. The aliens don't care what religion you are. No. They don't care what your sexual preference is. They don't care about your career. They don't care about how old you are. So there's no age discrimination within the aliens.
Right.
Okay. They don't care of your race or your skin color.
Yep.
They don't care about your blood type. Okay. They're here for the humans.
Yeah.
And whether or not you are healthy enough or stable enough to be used for whatever they need you to use, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
So I just don't like blanket statements like this because it makes our field look foolish.
Yeah, for sure.
Your thoughts?
I'm in agreement. And, just my personal take on it, and that's just the way that I'm going with this, is Greer, he to me, he's becoming, to me anyway, less likable all the time. And with a statement like that, I mean, I don't know where that came from. I really don't. But with a statement like that on top of, his spiel, it just, he's just solidifying a dislike. Like, I mean, there's everybody, I go through, obviously reading news and stuff every day on UFOs and stuff like that. And I'm finding there's a common thread in this, is that he may have done something good in a long time ago. He may have done, had great ideas, but the guy's got the personality of an open zipper, right? Like, he's just like, I can go on a rant, but I'm not going to. I'm just not finding him very, very, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. I don't like reading about him. He's always got something to say. And I don't know. He's a bit of a smart mouth too.
Well, he's very pompous.
Thank you.
In what he is.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. He is very confident and pompous about it. And you know what? I don't have his sources, so I can't sit here and claim that he's being fed that type of information.
Right.
What I can say is, if you're going to break down a statistic, give us the percentages.
Sure.
Hell, Stephen, you wanted the percentages of my audience of age ratio, men to women. You wanted You wanted percentages of income because it shows that too.
Yeah.
Okay. You wanted all of these statistics to come on this show before I zapped any chance of doing an interview with you.
Wow.
Okay. Why wouldn't you do that on your statistics?
Yeah. Well, because I'm Stephen Greer. I don't know. I shouldn't say that. I don't know. It just, yeah. I'm not impressed with them. And even some of the clips and the videos and the, it's like, dude, just shut up. just put a sock in it, man. Yeah.
Look, if he broke down the statistics, like stats are interesting.
Sure.
Okay. It doesn't matter whether you're a sports fan, politics is your thing.
Yep.
Or if you're into studies, but we need proper statistics, not generalizations.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would like to know what is the statistics of, say, an 18 to 35-year-old woman being taken comparatively to an 18 to 35-year-old man.
Absolutely.
I would like to know.
Sure.
Is there a difference in culture?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do Caucasians get taken more than blacks compared to Hispanics compared to Asians?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
I get where you're going.
That is a statistic to follow.
Sure.
Okay. What happens in your bedroom has nothing to do with aliens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just it just causes strife for no reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there will be people listening to this who will say, we're blowing this out of proportion.
That's okay.
But we're not.
No.
You cannot marginalize the phenomena.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Exactly. No, you're right.
I know a lot of big, strong, tough dudes who are having some experiences that make them cower.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Whether they're prison guards, whether they're in the military,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're just an everyday guy working at the sawmill,
Yep.
wanting to just make a paycheck.
That's right.
Okay. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It does. The sexuality doesn't matter.
Yeah. That was a hard left turn in that. I was like, yeah.
So I just think it makes us look bad.
It does. I agree. I agree.
So anyways, we got 2 minutes left. Let's move on to Jay Stratton.
Well, Jay, I have seen with my own eyes non-human craft and non-human beings. So this comes from I guess it's a soundbite from the new show coming out, or the movie coming out, The Age of Disclosure. And it's a documentary by Dan Farah, I think. Yeah, Dan Farah. I guess this was made in 2 years hidden. There's a lot of people involved, but yeah, Jay, that was his thing. He's seen them, and it's like, okay. So another bombshell coming up, right?
I think that's an important piece of news.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's tell you why. For people who may not know who Jay Stratton is the person who used to run the UAPTF program, the UAP task force for the Pentagon, which was the predecessor to Arrow.
Sure.
And for him to come out and make this statement is very large and in charge.
Yeah.
Now, there's a couple things I understand. So a lot of people will say, well, why is this the first time he's doing this in a movie? Because he's getting paid, or the people who believe in the word grifting will say he's just grifting, getting paid for this. When you sign on for a movie or a documentary, you have to sign an NDA that you're going to be quiet about that until the time of release.
Right. Yes.
I haven't done a lot of television, only a couple of times, and I had to sign an NDA that I could not talk about what was being filmed.
Right.
So I understand that.
Yep.
But when you make those type of claims, you have to be ready to come out and talk about it.
For sure.
And I don't know if Jay Stratton will, because he's not a media hype guy. He's not a guy who from what I've heard, never talked to the man.
Yep.
But from what I've heard, he's somebody who is all business, no pleasure when it comes to the UFO world. And those type of people, they will only speak in certain situations. It's
Okay.
not like David Grush, who has a handler. But we'll get more into that. And I'll tell you why it's important. We continue with the UFO report.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
How you doing?
Good, man. You?
Good. I am good.
So what's new?
Not much.
Yeah.
Not much. I'm more just kind of here right now.
I think we're both.
I'm in the land of blase right now, man.
I'm trying.
I'm what you would call enigmatic.
Ooh.
I don't get to use the word enigmatic is in my top 10 words. I don't use it way enough as I should. But I would say that I am enigmatic. Vanessa, how are you? Good to see you.
Got a new tattoo on Sunday.
You did. You should show the audience your tattoo.
I got to climb up on the desk.
Well,
Right on my
you have a
butt.
camera right there.
I'm not gonna. No, I'll put it up on.
You have a picture.
Yeah, I got a picture here somewhere. Okay, I'll do it real quick.
Text me the picture, or just put the picture up to your camera.
Okay, you're gonna have to. let me
It's
know.
a total copycat of my tattoo.
I didn't even know he had it when I had. Jesus, Murphy, kids.
Total copycat. Same artist.
Yeah. Same.
Mine's actually different.
Where is it? There we go. Yes. No.
Move it closer a little bit. Down. Okay. Yeah, that looks good right there. That is beautiful, to be honest. That is beautiful.
Yes, the Sasquatch in the forest. Yeah. You know what sucks? Along the shin bone.
Yeah. Yep. I may actually, no offense, because I really like the tattoo. By the way, Major Lee says it's a penis tattoo. It's very small.
Yeah. Oh, but
Ooh. There's only one no, there's two tattoo artists in town.
yeah, he's apprenticing one.
Yeah. No, there's three then.
Who's?
Because there's the lady at the sun tanning.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Yep. But one thing about Andrew, the tattoo guy, let's give him a shout out. Andrew,
Yeah.
he loves every time I walk into his store, he loves talking Bigfoot and everything. And when I went in there for my 50th birthday is when I got mine done.
Yeah.
And when I walked in there and I'm like, dude, he's like, what do you want? I said, I just want a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
I want a Bigfoot. And I said, the rest is up to you. You're the artist.
Right. Yeah.
And he did mine with a bunch of fallen trees around and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just loved it. But I would like him to add the moon, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I did the same thing. I said, I want a Sasquatch. I said, walking through the forest. I says, and you slam away at it. And he come out with it. And I was like, bingo.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Now, that was good stuff.
Yeah. So if you're ever in British Columbia in a 100-mile house, go see Andrew at a 100-mile tattoo.
Yep. Hey, we might get a free alien head on the finger after that promo.
Yeah. Or we get the Spaced Out Radio logo.
I would actually like to get the logo, but without the writing.
Yeah.
That would look cool.
Yeah, it would.
That would look cool.
Right on your neck.
Yeah. No. I don't like neck tattoos.
No.
I don't like neck tattoos.
No.
No. I'm getting the need now.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for some more.
Yeah.
Look at Rob. Now we can check the ankles of El Ovni, Volador, and Phantasmo for tats. Case solved.
Man, the social dig is a pain in the ass.
Tell me about it.
God.
Oh, I love this name. Hold on. New person in our chat room.
Mm-hmm.
Azarania Trudell. I have to get a couple this year. But look at that great name.
Yeah.
Azarania. What a fantastic name. Welcome to SOR chat, by the way. Yeah, I think for my birthday.
Yeah.
I got a couple. I need to start on my sleeve.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to start on my sleeve because it's going to be totally dedicated to the
Woo.
weird stuff.
Cool. That'll be
Yeah.
awesome. Andrew would love it.
Yeah. And yeah, I got to get a picture of Carl on there on my shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you tonight to Major Lee, Cosmic Joe, and Big Dog for the great super chats. Appreciate the love. Don't forget you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why, Tim?
Because we don't have any ugly swag, people.
That was hard for you to say right there.
Well, yeah, because you called me Rob.
Yeah, I did. I blew it right off the bat. Uh-huh.
It's okay.
Here we go. Here we go at the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. And we are in the UFO Report with Little Timmy James. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We got Little Timmy James. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Getting something pierced? Oh, sorry.
No, I'm not getting anything pierced.
Yeah, I got him.
No, I'm not a fan. Not a fan of the
Nicole.
Nicole Sackett just
Stirring it up
from the weird desk somewhere near a graveyard in Illinois. Literally, she lives near a graveyard. Like, it's like there's a fence in between her and the graveyard.
That'll keep everything out.
Yeah, she's always stirring it up.
Mm-hmm,
Great UFO researcher, though.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, great
No
UFO researcher. So,
yes.
Jay Stratton.
Yep.
The unfortunate part about this, so for people just tuning in, the former head of the UAP task force at the Pentagon, Jay Stratton, came out basically saying on what we call a teaser clip, a sizzle reel, that he saw firsthand an unidentified flying object and an alien or non-human intelligence, if you want to be politically correct in the UAP world these days. Nothing more, nothing less. Now we have to wait for the documentary to come out.
Yep.
I think that's a big, big statement by somebody who is in the know. I really do. We know his resume. We know he ran the program.
Yep.
We know that he's been dealing with this topic for a lot of years. We know he was apparently the boss of Lou Elizondo.
Yes.
We know that he has come out publicly and he has a book coming out on this subject. And this may be all tying together because we are waiting and waiting and waiting for his book to kindly come on out.
Yep.
Now, the question is, and what we're all going to debate in the UFO world is what was said before and what was said after.
That's right.
Because a lot of times people leave things on the editing floor, number one, or number two, they pass right over the moment. And there's times on this show where I have passed over the moment and afterwards I'm scratching my forehead. Why didn't I ask that question?
Yeah, for sure.
I really hope they ask a few questions. This is what I want to hear as an experiencer.
Yeah.
Because they're two different topics. When it comes to the UFO, where is it?
Yep.
And if you can't tell me where, can you give me a vicinity? What did it look like? Was there high traces of radiation?
Yeah.
Did you go inside? if you were able to get inside, what did it look like?
Mm-hmm.
Now, with the alien, what did it look like?
Yeah.
Was it a gray? Was it humanoid? Was it mantid? Was it Arcturian, Pleiadian,
Right.
reptilian? My former mother-in-law? There's a lot of questions that need to be answered, because if it's my former mother-in-law, by God, humanity is in for a world of hell.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And you're right, because, and like I said, you and I were discussing this earlier as well. With the amount of people that are, well, apparently entitled in this documentary, I'm wondering how, if at all, besides Stratton, but all these other people that are in the movie, how they're going to, if there's revelations, I'm just saying, if there's revelations in this movie and there's mind-blowing kapows in there, with the amount of people that are in this, I don't know how deep they're going to be able to go.
Do you have a list of who else is in there?
I did, and I can't remember where I put it. I think there was like 36 people. I mean, Elizondo's in it, Stratton, obviously, Tim Burchett's in it. I'm just running through the pictures in my head. There's a lot of people in there, and I'm just wondering if they will be able to answer those questions, because you're right. Those are things that I think I'd want to know as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree. And when I see, here's my problem with, and Nicole Sackage and I have talked about this numerous times.
Right.
I've mentioned this on the show as well.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to 2017, you go to any Netflix or Tubi or Amazon documentary,
mm-hmm.
It's all the same people talking about all the same topics, except a name change on the documentary.
Yes. Yeah.
We fast forward to 2017 and above, especially the last few years,
mm-hmm.
we're getting a lot of the same people, different group, and different people, but
mm-hmm.
they're all linked together with these documentaries. If you look at Gary Nolan, and this isn't a shot at them.
No.
But Gary Nolan, usually Avi Loeb is in there,
mm-hmm.
Lou Elizondo.
Yeah.
You name it. They're in there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So it's kind of see how the formulae has changed.
Mm-hmm. True.
Same people, different title. I mean, it sounds like it's the exact same people who were just in James Fox's movie.
Yeah.
So, and then Jeremy Corbell's three is piece docuseries.
Yes.
By TMZ.
Yeah.
By the way, Jeremy's beard does look good in that. It does.
Yeah. He's got a killer beard.
Very good beard. Very, very good beard.
Yeah. And you're right. And that's, I think, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I'm pretty positive that I think the UFO community is kind of getting tired of that same stuff, right?
Okay. So here's the list. Thank you to Nicole for sending it.
Thanks, Nicole.
Okay. So here's the list. And so this is put together by former Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper,
mm-hmm.
titled The Age of Disclosure, like you said.
Yep.
Here's the players. Lou Elizondo,
Check.
Chris Mellon, Jay Stratton, Carl Nell, Hal Puthoff,
mm-hmm.
Eric Davis, Tim Gallaudet, Jim Semivan, Rounds, Rubio, Gillibrand from the government.
Mm-hmm.
So at least for once, we don't have Tim Burchett.
Yeah.
No offense, Tim. Still like to have you on the show. All right. But there it is.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. Same, many of the same people.
Yeah.
Different documentary, different name. And I just hope that they show a little bit more, because that is like I said, in my opinion, it is a very, very big statement that he made,
mm-hmm.
that he has been present and in the presence of a UFO and an alien.
Yeah.
And for the 2017s who don't understand what I just said, a UAP and an NHI, non-human intelligence. Next topic.
Next topic. All righty. Well, had a, I guess, the new president with his drone, whatever disclosure. So Donald Trump addressed the public concerns regarding unidentified drones spotted in New Jersey as he was signing executive orders at the White House on day one of his presidency. Trump was questioned by a reporter, is there anything we should be worried about these New Jersey drones? In response, Trump hinted at working on finding an answer. I would like to find out what it is and tell people. In fact, I'd like to do that. So if you haven't seen the video, he says that and he turns and he looks over and he says, then he directed his response to his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, saying, could we find out what that was, Susie? He goes, why don't we find out immediately? Then elaborated on his own theories. Trump said, I can't imagine it's an enemy. Or maybe there would have been people blown already. Maybe they were testing things. I don't know why they wouldn't have said it what it was, he added. So day one, and he was going to, as soon as he became president, waiting for it. And again, fairness, I'm sure as a president or whatever of any president of the United States on the first day, he's got a lot of stuff going on. So hopefully he will disclose this drone thing.
Here's the thing, though. He stated prior to this that he would get to the bottom of this within the first week.
Yeah, true.
Okay, and that the government officials and the president already knew what they were.
Mm-hmm.
So if they knew what they were, Mr. New President,
yes,
why don't you just say what they are?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Like the JFK files that he says were going to be released at 3 p.m.
That's right.
Eastern time, noon Pacific.
Yeah.
I don't know what time in Hawaii. I think it's 3 or 4 hours difference.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They never came.
No.
They never came. And then it's believed that he was told by somebody not to mention them and do not release them.
Yeah.
So what this is telling, it was former CIA director, Mike Pompeo, apparently was the one who talked to Trump and said, do not release those files.
Right.
So basically we got a letter with Trump's name on it from the presidential office and blacked out Sharpie the rest of the way.
Yeah, exactly.
So this does go to show, okay, this does go to show that when you step into the most powerful position in the world, there are still rules and people holding you to those rules that you must follow in the case of national security.
That's right.
Now, considering JFK, where I believe almost everybody involved with that was closely involved with that or suspected is dead.
Yeah.
It might be something that you could release now.
Yeah.
And for the fact of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., whether you like him or not, I don't care. This is not political.
No.
Dude deserves to know who took out his dad.
Right.
Now, there's probably he already knows, but there are, even to this day, there are so many people out there who talk about JFK like he was an American king, American royalty.
Yeah.
I don't know, being a foreigner, number one. Number two, 10 years before my time, before old Davy was born.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was 2 when he was assassinated.
Well, you're old, though.
Oh.
No, you are. But it's just one of those things where it's time.
Yeah.
It's time. JFK, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, okay, RFK. Let's just grow up.
Yeah.
And make it happen.
That's right.
All right.
Yeah. Build a bridge. Let's get over it.
7.5 minutes to go.
All righty. So whistleblowers I've been talking about it, and I've been finding, like I say, it's been nuts because whistleblower after whistleblower after whistleblower, and it's not trying to say it's copycat, but it's like it just keeps happening. There's so many people coming out of the woodwork. So A new alleged whistleblower has surfaced with claims of participating in the recovery of an egg-shaped UAP, UFO, and a 700-year-old humanoid being in status, both discovered in a cave within the Queen Elizabeth mountain range in Antarctica. So according to this whistleblower, when the team awakened the being, it shared revelations about humanity's true origins and the real nature of extraterrestrial activity on Earth. The entity reportedly explained that humans were engineered by an advanced race of beings described as spiritually devoid monsters who created us to serve as a labor force for resource extraction on the planet. Additionally, the being claimed that certain factions within the U.S. government continue to collaborate with this mysterious creator race, operating in secrecy to this day. So the discovery of this was in Antarctica in November of 2022, and there is another video out. So have a look, judge for yourself. A joint mission involving the Department of Defense and the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs discovered an egg-shaped UAP made of an unknown metal with no external symbols, a live humanoid entity in a status pod, which did not use cryogenics, but kept the being alive. The site was described as an abandoned underground military base, not a civilization. The physical traits of the humanoid entity: 8 feet tall, appearance white blonde hair, blue eyes, a strong jawline. Anatomy, most human-like, but some differences, including genitalia resembling both humans and chimpanzees. Clothing, found naked in the pod. Communication, could speak both vocally and telepathically. Telepathy only worked on certain individuals based on their level of acceptance. He learned English and German within a week. Described humans as selfish and childish, claimed humans were happier in earlier centuries, and believes Earth is a miraculous place that should be treasured. The true origins of the humanity, it said, was where humans were engineered by an advanced race that lacked spirituality and used early humans for labor and resource extraction. So initially, they created Homo neanderthalensis, but after it failed, they made Homo sapiens. This creator race is still present on Earth, with some members living underground. The conflict between this race and the space missionaries has shaped many myths. So just one of those blurbs that I picked up on today. But yeah, it was just like, okay, here we go, whistleblowers, and let's see how many more egg-shaped. And I'm definitely not making fun of this stuff, but definitely want to see how many more egg-shaped UFOs and eyewitnesses and stuff come out of the woodwork. But there's a couple of them out there already.
Well, I think they're trying to find support.
I think so too.
For Jake Barber.
I think so too.
You know, that guy's taking a beating right now.
I know he is. And, you know, obviously I was watching Rob's show and the show when I'm on my days off and stuff. And I agree that this should be taken, you know, because it's the shape of an egg. There's so much, you know, there's so much humor and I shouldn't say nobody. It doesn't seem to be like being taken as serious as it should be, maybe, you know, in my opinion. That's just me. I'm just looking at it going, yeah, you know, here we go. The Exactly t-shirts and the scrambled eggs and the people making their little videos on TikTok with the string, you know.
We put out a t-shirt.
Yeah, but that's
just good marketing.
That's right. That's exactly.
By the way, we have one troll who usually shows up in our chat room.
Right.
And he was ripping on me for that, saying that I don't support anything about Elizondo, that I wasn't supporting the whistleblowers, that I was trying to discredit them, that we are a discredit type of show.
Really?
Yep. And that we're more into selling our goods and entertainment than we are about providing quality radio programming.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think that's funny, considering, you know, what this moron doesn't know is that the day that Rob and I did the special on the News Nation report, Rob doesn't even know this. I actually was texting Elizondo asking him to come on the air with us.
Oh.
But apparently I have a personal beef with him.
Oh, yes.
I have a personal beef with him, right? That apparently I refuse to bring him on the air. So, yeah.
Wow.
So without showing his phone number.
Yeah, don't make sure.
Here it says, "Hi, Mr. Lou. This was Saturday at 3:43 p.m. Hi, Mr. Lou. I'm sure you're busy, but if you would like to join us on Spaced Out Radio to review and discuss the Jake Barber video, we'd be grateful. We would need you for just a few minutes if you're free. I am on the road, brother." I said, "No problem. You ride safe." He gave me a thumbs up right there. If you guys don't believe me, for our YouTube audience, it's right there. Okay.
Yeah.
But I hate Elizondo. I don't talk to him, but this is what happens when you get people in aha caught you moments.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
Yeah. And see, then again, we've discussed this, and it's 99% of the audience and the people in the chat and the part of the SOR family, they get it. And sure, skeptical at sometimes. We bicker back and forth amongst each other over certain topics and stuff like that. But yeah, very, 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 very rarely have I ever seen anybody, dive at Dave. And it always seems to be the people that dive at you are the guys that they're hit and run experts, and like you say, want to catch you in an aha moment. You never end up seeing them in the chat room, or very rarely anyway, right? I don't get it.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah, well,
that's the way it is. Welcome to You Apology.
Yeah.
Ufology was much nicer,
yes,
to be blunt.
Yeah.
We honestly are going to have to do a show on that. You apology versus ufology.
That'd be good.
And the big difference. And yeah, I you know what? Next time I get some time to interview Nicole Sakich.
Yeah.
Because she hasn't been on in a while, and our audience needs to hear from her.
Yeah.
Love Nicole. I'm gonna talk to her about that. I'm gonna talk to her about that because I think that's an interesting path to take on this entire subject.
Yeah, definitely. I think that turn some lights on, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Timmy?
Yes, Dave.
Thank you for a great UFO report. Thank you for your strangeness tonight. It's been good. Yeah. And thank you to Dr. Paul H. Smith talking about Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Stahl talking in the background with little brothers Ron Jacob. Bumblefoot is the official music of Space Out Radio. Rocking this one down with every single show. Get your horns up with the guitar, God himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LDAP, Spreaker, LinkedIn, Facebook, Space Travel, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyrighted by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us. Because together, my friend,
make a mistake. We're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot. We need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Blue Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, guess what? We got room for you too. Good night, everybody. All right, we're clear, man.
Yep.
Yeah, sweet Robbie G, that was I was trying for a surprise for you, man. That's what I was trying to do. But, according to
Somebody.
yeah, well, I don't even mention, I'll mention the name. I don't care. Dark Protocol, who hates everything we do, rips into everything that we do, but listens every night, probably listening right now.
Could be.
But according to Aha Caught You Moments, I don't contact Elizondo, and I'm not trying to bring him on the show, and I'm not, all this crap. I mean, just garbage. It's just garbage.
Yeah, you're more interested in selling that non-ugly swag.
Well, that's exactly it, right?
Yeah.
And if you look at my hoodie tonight,
I know. I like it.
Yeah, I love the owl.
So do I.
Love the owl. So this is why I don't do Aha Caught You Moments, because people like this person.
Yeah.
What they do is they're looking for that snippet in a sentence. They're not reading the full paragraph.
Right. Yep.
So, but they know everything. They know best.
Yeah.
And I'm just a know-it-all trying to shove my opinion down people's throats.
Well, I was going to talk to you about that, Dave.
Yeah. Yep. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
By the way, my grandmother turned 97.
Wow.
Yep.
Way to go, Grandma.
Old Lizzie, she made her
97.
She is held bound to go to about 105.
Good for her.
Yeah. She's like, why quit? I'm having a good time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good
for her. Man, 95. 97, sorry.
I mean, poor girl can't see much anymore.
Oh, gee.
Barely hear.
Yeah.
But Dad took her to the casino today. Dad took her to the casino and she lost a whole $40.
Oh, no.
A whole $40 on the slot machines.
Well, if she's on a pension, on the slot machines. Oh, my goodness. Oh, and just click. That's funny. Yeah. 97. You imagine? Like, it was the same with my grandparents. All of them have passed now, but I think my grandfather made it to 92, and I think my grandmother did as well, 92, 93. But they were World War II brides, bride and groom, right?
Yeah.
You imagine, I remember listening to the stories from my grandfather, well, from both of them, and just the stuff that they lived through, all the stuff that they saw and crap that happened. I was like, holy man. Just, yeah. Oh, yeah, no, we remember that. Remember when the war started? And do you remember when, just all these things in history, they're jam-packed into just about 100 years, and they saw just about all of it.
Oh, I agree. My great grandfather, when he came over, when the draft happened for World War II, because my great grandfather him and his best friend hid in a haystack when the Russians came in.
Oh, right.
And during the Bolshevik Revolution.
Gotcha. I was like,
when the Russians came in, the first thing they did was they murdered every young man who could fight.
Yeah, of course.
Or potentially fight.
Yeah.
And my great grandfather watched his brother take one.
Oh.
And his brother was just a couple years old. My great grandfather, I think, was 14 or 15 at the time.
Oh, no.
So he would have got it. If they would have found him, he would have got it.
Sure.
And so eventually when he came to Canada, because he literally, him and his best friend at that moment afterwards, they waited till night. They went from northern Ukraine.
Yeah.
They stowed away to get down to the Crimea.
Yeah.
To get over to France, take a boat to France, take a boat to England, and then stowed away on a boat to Canada.
Wow.
Yeah. Literally living off of potatoes.
Yeah.
Okay. And whatever scraps they could find.
Sure.
And long story short, when World War II happened, my grandfather had 4 boys. and at the time, and he said that his rule was in World War II during the draft,
Yeah.
you had a choice. You could work in the mines, you could work in the bush, or you could go to war.
Right.
Everybody wanted to go to war.
Yeah.
Because that was the manly thing to do.
Exactly.
Except my great-grandfather convinced all of his sons to go into the bush camps.
Yeah.
And, well, unfortunately, a lot of my grandfather's friends at the time, just like your grandparents' friends and everybody's listening, their parents, were getting letters sent home saying, sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
My grandfather got his 4 boys back.
Yeah. No, that's good.
because he was done with it. Like, he hated war. He hated everything to do with it, and didn't want his sons coming home in a body bag with it. Right.
No, exactly.
So,
and I mean, the other thing is too, is the resources still had to be produced. Right. So you had to have people like that working in industry, or like you say, either mining, smelting, whatever the case may be, forestry. This stuff still needed to be done. Yeah.
Right.
So
while the brave women were, taking care of the families, taking care. I mean, those
and
women,
working in factories.
Those women back then. Okay, I don't think any of us, male or female, know the work that they had to put into for those few years. Not only do you have to hold down a job, you're coming out of the Depression. You have kids to take care of. Your husband's been taken away from you forcefully because of a draft.
Yeah.
And has to go.
Yep.
So you're playing the role of mother, father, homemaker.
Yep.
And at that time, women mostly were stay-at-home moms.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to do everything.
Yeah.
Everything together. And talk about tough.
No,
and
definitely.
Strong.
Yeah.
But God bless them.
Absolutely. And well, my father was born during World War II, and obviously my grandfather was off in war. My grandmother was in England working at a canteen on a military base, and she never knew. You heard what from your husband or whatever. Whenever the letter got out, or whenever they had a chance to write, and man, compared to nowadays, like Iraq and Iran and all that stuff, all these guys are, I mean, good deal, but they can send texts or emails and stuff, and
they're allowed to Skype home.
Yeah, right. But man, back then, it's give them all credit.
Oh yeah. I hear you there, my man. I hear you there. I mean, we could never imagine.
No,
and that's the reason why they're also called the greatest generation.
That's true,
right? I mean, everybody sacrificed at that point.
Oh, no question.
Everybody sacrificed.
I mean, how many of the stories I remember, again, grandparents telling me stories about, they had to ration their milk, or they only had an allotment that was given to them. And I was like, wow. Sitting there listening, eating a handful of cookies as a kid. But,
and when you got a chicken, you had to take it from start to finish and you ate everything on that chicken. Everything on that chicken, whether it was the organs, whether it was the meat, whether it was the chicken, peel the skin off the chicken's feet to get the little morsels of meat on there.
Go into the stew or into the pot. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
My great grandfather on my grandmother's side, her dad, he used to go and he'd bird hunt. Right. So they'd had pheasants or stuff and hanging in the barn, and it was like, get what you could get.
Yeah. That you did. That you did. But dear leader thinks food comes from a store.
Oh, that's right.
Remember that.
Yeah. I forgot.
As he said in the House of Commons.
Yeah.
Food comes from the store. Last I checked, it didn't.
No.
It went to the store.
That's right.
If we have to go back to the little piggies,
right.
when Piggy went to market.
Yeah. That's right.
He wasn't coming home.
No, that's right.
Right? You ever looked? Oh God, it was so long ago, probably 7 years ago, 8 years ago. I actually did a story I had a guest on about the real dark side of kids' fairy
Oh
tales.
God. Yeah.
Yeah.
And nursery rhymes and crap. Yeah.
Like Ring Around the Rosie.
Yeah.
No, it's not Husha, Mom.
No, it's ashes.
Yeah.
We all fall down. Why?
Yeah, it's amazing what a little plague can do. Yeah. Let's promote the plague in a nursery rhyme.
Let's make a song.
Oh yeah. But there's some good ones. We got to do that again.
Yeah.
Do that.
Let's write a song.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. What rhymes with COVID?
Oh God! Don't even start.
Yeah, no.
That's just causing havoc and trouble right there, man.
Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it warmed up out there.
It did. About time. It's almost cold. It's only -9 Celsius.
Oh,
right
is that
now.
where it's at now? Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did warm up.
No, but the wind chill, man. That's what sucks. Is the damn wind chill. Where's the start of this show? Right there.
Yeah, she's a little bit icy.
Just gonna tell you, I hate spinach. Can't stand spinach.
I can't say that I hate it. I'm really dislike it.
I would eat it if it was the only thing that I needed. Like let's say all the real food was gone. You know, I mean, I would treat it with a tad more respect than soccer. Okay, not much.
But soccer with no arms.
But if literally my living hell, if there is a hell out there, and I get sent to hell, which I hope I don't. Okay, I already know my punishment.
You're going to be on a soccer pitch?
The devil is going to put me right watching soccer for eternity while Joni Mitchell's Big Yellow Taxi plays in the background.
Don't do that one. Yeah.
It's going to absolutely torture me.
Yeah.
What song tortures you?
What song tortures me? Oh my God. There's a few of them out there. God, off the top of my head, I just can't think of anything right now.
I'll give you a couple that drive me nuts.
Okay.
Tracy Chapman's Fast Car.
Yeah, Fast Cars. Yeah.
I know I'm going to be unpopular with this one.
Mm-hmm.
Fleetwood Mac's Rhiannon. Cannot stand it.
Yeah,
cannot stand it.
Don't mind it, but I get where you're going.
No, that song needs to be put out to pasture.
Oh.
Limelight by Rush.
What?
Don't like that one.
What's wrong with you?
Don't like it.
You're not a good Canadian kid.
Tom, give me you if you gave me a choice, play an for future forever.
Mm-hmm.
If I could play Tom Sawyer, 100%.
Oh, I see where you're going. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't like living on a lighted stage when it approaches the unreal? For those who think
it's just Limelight drives me nuts. Drives me nuts.
Yeah, I like Rush. I mean, there's some Rush songs that I go, oh God. Very few, but
look, I don't mind Rush. I never really got into them.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're a dude's band anyway, right?
But I can tell you this: I love Tom Sawyer.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tom Sawyer, in my world, is a top 5 intro.
Oh, no question.
Yeah, top 5 intro.
No question. What's it? Anything by Billy Ray Cyrus just about drives me want to run spikes into my face.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Tracy hates Cheap Trick. She goes, anything,
What?
anything right there. Anything by Cheap Trick.
Tracy. No. Dream
See,
Police.
but you got to realize these American people, they weren't tortured having to watch the Grey Cup and Anne Murray and Burton Cummings every freaking year.
Yep.
Every year.
And then Tommy Hunter would be on after the Grey Cup.
Yep.
And tonight on CBC, we've got an extra special Christmas hour and a half of Tommy Hunter. It'd be like, no.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah, that's true. And some of the stuff that we couldn't, like some of the music that was played to death down in the US had just, they release dates were completely off back in the 70s and, well, especially the 70s and early 80s. They'd release, like Van Halen had released whatever, their album in August or February down in the States, but we wouldn't see it until the summer. Right?
Deb tonight, thank you for the super chat. Davey, what song was playing when you lost your virginity? I don't even know. There wasn't a song. Television was on.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Television was on. So number 3? Yeah, 3. There you go, Deb. Television was on. I don't remember. Can tell you it was a Friday night.
No, there you go.
There you go. Yep. Well, I got personal real quick.
Yeah.
What show is on? I don't know.
BJ and the Bear.
Well, I'm not your age. Not your age.
Oh, gee, sorry. Brady Bunch, Dukes of Hazzard. What was it? 60 Minutes.
Might have been.
Yeah, I know,
No,
right?
that's a Sunday show.
Yeah, that's right.
Might have been Dateline. Or the first 48 or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Reach for the top.
Oh, man. What's the worst Canadian game show ever?
Oh, what was it called? Oh, it was so bad. Oh my God. Not Tic-Tac-Doe. What the frick was it? Yeah, there were some pretty cheesy ones that came out of Winnipeg and Toronto, but Winnipeg, I can see it, and it was that big, huge board, like the game board, and you rolled the dice, and you had to actually walk on the game board.
I don't remember that one.
Jesus,
I know. For a while there, every game show had to be hosted by Stu Jeffries.
Oh yes.
Every game show had to be hosted by Stu Jeffries.
Yeah, and Wayne Cox. He did some stuff too.
Yeah. He did Password, didn't he? The Canadian version of
Yes. Yeah. He was
Password.
on, and then what was it? Because they used to film game shows in studio at CKVU, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Holy crap. Reaching way back.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm. I'm Stu
Just
Jeffries.
terrible.
Yeah. And then Terry David Mulligan for a while too.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I can't handle it.
He was a nice guy. I got to meet him when I was in Vancouver
Really?
radio. Yeah.
Yeah. I met him a few times, and every time he was just like,
Oh,
wow.
he knew who he was.
Yeah, no question.
Just because he had a couple of brief stints on 21 Jump Street.
Oh, and the Beachcombers.
Oh, yeah. Good rocking tonight.
Oh, God. Zigzag. Yeah. Oh, man, we're really going back.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
Good old BCTV.
An all-star wrestling.
Oh, that was the best.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Sergeant Al Tomko and
Ole
Olafson.
Ole Olsen.
Yeah, Ole Olsen.
What was that?
Barefoot wrestler.
Then they had the champion was always his first name was Rick, and this guy couldn't have been weighed more than like $120.
Oh, yeah. What the heck?
But he had like a family line in it or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then there was Mr. Pro. Oh, God.
And what was that big guy? There was one.
What, John Tenta?
No, not John Tenta.
The Earthquake. Oh, okay, yeah, we're
All-Star Wrestling.
yeah. I'm thinking of Stampede, and then he went to WWF.
Yeah. There's actually a good documentary on John Tenta about how it destroyed him being a heel.
Oh yeah,
He hated it because all the kids would be so afraid to come up to chat with him, and he loved, empowering children.
Mm-hmm.
He loved being a good role model and everything like that. So being a heel was extremely difficult for him. And then when Vince McMahon actually started turned him face, it was like he won the WWE championship.
Yeah. Well, when he was up here in Vancouver, I was working at the Brick, so this was probably 1985. And he came into the store, because he was living in Surrey. He came into the store with his wife.
Yeah.
And what a super nice guy. Yeah. His wife, little Asian lady, I was like, she was maybe 5'2", and if she weighed 100 pounds, she had rocks in her pockets. And I'm looking at her and I'm looking at him. I was like,
well, she was Japanese because he went over.
That's right.
Sumo wrestling.
That's what it was.
He was. I don't think he ever became a Yokozuna, but he was pretty damn close.
Yeah.
And he was one of the most popular sumo wrestlers of his time.
What a super nice guy, though. Yeah. I met Gene Kiniski at the Longhorn and Whistler. And I was like, yeah, Gene Kiniski. And I was like 19 or something like that. And
hey, Big Tex, how's your beard tonight?
Yeah, I had a few beers or whatever. And I was like, oh, we got to get a picture before cell phones and stuff like that. And a buddy of mine had his camera and he put me in a headlock. Nice. I was like, yeah, I got headlocked by Gene Kiniski, man.
Nice. That was SCTV with Martin Short and the others. Now, Martin Short was funny.
Yeah.
That guy's funny.
Yeah, he is. A little bit over the top sometimes, but he's hilarious. Like
when he did Ed Grimley.
Oh, yeah. I must say. Oh, Dave, this is a great show, I must say. And what was it? He did the reporter. What's his name?
Oh, yeah. Oh God.
Brilliant.
With the acne face and
big, huge neck. I can't remember what his name is. God, so good. He just slams everybody. So, when did you become an actor? Oh, that's right. You're not there yet, right? Like he just.
Good times, the old SCTV.
I loved it.
Stuart Smalley.
Don't remember that.
No, Stuart Smalley was the I'm good enough. And doggone it, people like me.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know what one was good is if you remember Mad TV, the Bobby, where the
Bobby Lee,
where the kid, look at me, look at me,
Stuart.
It was Stuart, yeah,
Stuart.
Not Bobby.
Stuart. Now you've been told to settle down. Look what I can do. I know. Oh my gosh. Okay, we're getting tired.
I'm gonna have to watch Three Amigos this weekend.
Oh.
That was funny stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Funny stuff. Tomorrow night on the show, Mindy Tot Fest, and Terry Ling will be here, but Terry's might be sick. I don't know if she's going to make it or not.
Oh.
But they'll be here talking UFOs, tracking down UFOs, everything to do with UFOs.
Right.
So, guess we're talking UFOs tomorrow night.
Cool.
Yeah, you're not going to be here.
I'll be at home for the abbreviated.
Yeah, you're going to be at home. You know, just saying.
Just saying.
You're going to be at home.
Yep.
You're going to be at home. It's just the way it goes.
Tis so.
Yeah. The hell caused that? Weird.
That's a Jiminy Glick. That's right.
I hear you there. So thank you to our new subscribers tonight. If you are new watching this, make sure you hit subscribe, ring that bell. We'd really, really appreciate it because we're here 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of you, we'll see you tomorrow night. Enjoy, everybody. Thanks for coming on out. See you again.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.